Boom. Hey, so welcome. This is for the people who don't know. This is Aidan Kearney, also known as Turtleboy. I'll let you introduce yourself because you'll do a better job than I will.
Well, thanks.
So,
First of all, thanks for having me, Ian. Appreciate it. Always enjoy your content and your funny wit and banter on your program and your YouTube presentation, as Cosgrove calls them. But yeah, my name's Aidan Kearney. They call me Turtleboy, Dr. Turtleboy, Daddy, Journalism Jesus. A Timothy Kearney, the variety of names. But thank you for having me.
well, it's an honor because I think the journalism Jesus tagline actually has a lot of weight to it because one of the complaints I've sort of had is that journalism has become kind of toothless and kind of they'll just run press releases, but that's never been your style. You get in there, you get into the fray there. So I appreciate the heck out of that.
Well, someone's got. I mean, traditionally, that's what like journalists kind of used to do is, they'd have this innate desire to like figure out what's going on and write about it. And call me old school, but it's just kind of fun to do. To, uh, you know, you see a story out there, and you're like, gee, there's probably more than meets the eye to this story. Maybe I should look into it, which involves talking to people, filing records requests, right? Asking questions, doing things like instead of just going down to the courthouse and asking the clerks to give you the latest filings and then just reprinting whatever the government says and say, "Ooh, he's been indicted for witness intimidation." It sounds serious. We don't really know the details of what exactly the witness intimidation is, but it is. It's an indictment, so it must be serious.
And so, how did you like? You made a jump to journalism, and how did that come about? How did you decide to start in on that?
Well, I was a high school teacher for a long time, about a decade. I was teaching at a regional high school near Worcester, and I liked doing it a lot. I was really thorough. I don't want to brag, but I was pretty good at my job as far as teaching goes. Like I took a lot of pride in it. I like to think that kids learned a lot of United States history in my class, which isn't easy for 11th graders sometimes because it's not really what 11th graders are thinking about most of the time. They're usually thinking about girls and beer and whatever else, but they're not thinking about, the Gilded Age or, the 1920s or whatever. So you got to find a way to make it interesting to them. So I love researching by nature, just what I've always done. I like writing and I'm a natural born entertainer. Like when you're a teacher, you are at the front of the classroom and you have to keep these kids awake. You got to find a way to make things interesting, to lighten things up. Now, I don't use the language that I use now in the classroom. I was like, I wouldn't have lasted for a decade if I did that. But yeah, I love doing it. And I started this website anonymously as something called turtleboysports.com because I needed a way to vent anonymously, almost like as a teacher, your opinions have to be somewhat regulated. Like you're not, and that includes on social media, like you're not allowed to have like a personality or,
Yeah.
say anything controversial. They don't like that. And that goes for a lot of public servants, right? So if I wanted to, you know, like what I was doing with Karen Reed, for instance, like this wouldn't fly if I was still teaching, like, because it's just too controversial. Like Julie Carpenter would be calling up the school and Mama Lama would be calling up the school saying, and they've done this to other teachers. Goat Boy's a teacher on Twitter, like, and they attack him at his school. And it's like, you can't have opinions as a teacher. So, I did it anonymously and it kind of started blowing up around 2014, not like blowing up like it is now, but like it grew in size and influence, and I had a couple thousand readers every day. And then next thing you know, I got doxxed, like real doxxed, like not like what they say is doxxed on the internet now, which is like, saying your name out loud, right? Doxxed, like here's where he works, call his work, here's his address, here's where his family lives, like all that stuff. And it was actually over a football game, the Patriots Bills. Like we went to a Bills game up there, and I wrote about their fans and what savages they are. and they found I got doxxed by Bill's Mafia, and
I
things.
saw the article. There was a lot of hurt feelings in that article.
Oh yeah, there was. I mean, it was ridiculous. I mean, we all just were at a football game together. Long story, nothing bad happened, but people say stuff, and next thing you know, at the school was getting like hundreds of phone calls. So they put me on paid leave while they figured out what the hell to do, and eventually, I just worked with the union. That like, okay, so they can't fire you because you haven't done anything, but this is like huge distraction. So we're gonna give you they offer me like a full year salary to just walk away. And I'm like, okay. So I took it and I just started doing Turtleboy full time and just dug my fists into uh investigative journalism and ratchet exposing, just exposing people misbehaving in general. I mean, that's kind of the theme of everything I've done, and it's carried over to the Karen Reed case. Is like I just like exposing douchebags. Like to me, the Karen Reed case has never been about Karen Reed as much as it's been about the McAlberts. I just don't like them. Okay, and I don't like Michael Morrissey, and I just like exposing them. I think it's fun.
I kind of appreciate the deep irony of this guy who's like, I'm gonna blow up Turtle Boy's life. I'm gonna ruin him, and it's like, uh, that guy in some ways kind of kind of made you,
Yes.
as it's like
Yeah, it
somebody
worked
out
real well.
there
Yeah, I
that
want
guy
to send
should.
him a Christmas card. He really did me a favor. Like get me. I mean, I like teaching, but I wasn't meant to be a teacher. I was meant to be Turtle Boy. So I owe him a thank you for doing that to me.
Well, I feel like a lot of what you do is teaching because you do the research and then you come out and you got to present it in an entertaining way because otherwise people don't listen. But I mean, it is. I can see the connection sort of once you drew it there. So you started out in sports. What made you decide to go into the other things there, like the other?
Uh, well, women don't really care about sports, so you're cutting off like half the demographic, and also it's a saturated market. And like there's a million places where you can get your sports takes. I'm from Massachusetts, home of Barstool Sports, so it's like it's kind of saturated. Plus, nobody really cares about my opinions on sports. That's not my skill. Like I don't have my opinion on sport ball or the Patriots or whatever is no more or less like distinct or interesting than any other boob who just calls up sports talk radio on a daily basis. Like that's what you want to do in life, right? You want to find a skill that you do that not everyone else can do. And my skill is entertaining and journalism and, just being a leader, I guess, is what I'm good at.
Well, it's been impressive because you've picked up some stories that nobody else has really looked at, especially on police corruption, which I think is it's a difficult area. I think a lot of journalists avoid it because of the hazards. So, I mean, how do you manage to uncover these things as somebody who's sort of getting into everything on your own? Like, how do you sort of find these leads and run with them?
Well, you find all right. So with the Karen Reed case, well, I guess that's a little different because I had direct access to Karen Reed. That helped out a lot. I'm not gonna lie. When your source is the main character, that's also a sweet thing.
Yeah.
But like I just I take nothing at face value. I get a lot of tips. Okay, so a lot of people just send me tip ideas that aren't out there. For instance, there was like this weird story right now out of this town called North Andover in Massachusetts, right? And a female cop in North Andover was just shot. She's like 28 years old, good looking woman too, and was just shot at her house by another North Andover cop doing some sort of wellness check. There's just a lot of great, and everybody's confused, and everybody's like asking me, like my bread and butter forte over the years has been figuring out what the hell's behind this. And I've already gotten emails, like I'm getting tips left and right about what actually happened in there that no one else is reporting. And I mean to get around to it, right? I actually know the whole story about what happened with that. I'm meaning to write a story about it. It's just the timing's not good right now with all this Karen Reed stuff in the 4th of July and all that. But like I have great sources, like like with the Karen Reed stuff, like my first source on this was a cop. like a former Duxbury cop by the name of Brian Johnson, who used to work with John, and it's just like something's wrong here. And then so you write about it, you put it out there, and then next thing you know, your inbox is just filled with more tips. Now the hard part is sorting out all the bullshit. Like you got a lot of really, I can't tell you how many emails I got from people about swingers. Oh, you got to look at their swingers, or Colin selling drugs.
I get
Or
that too.
yeah. So like
Swingers
you got
thing.
to filter them all out. But like once in a while, you get a tip that's like legit, and you look into it and you follow it, and and that's what I love doing. Me and Richie from Microdots were just, we would just go down. Like for one thing we did with the Canton Library video that there's a couple minutes missing, like at 12:37 to 12:39. So that's something that needs to be explained, in my opinion, and it has an explanation somewhere. So the state police claim that just 2 minutes missing. Well, they didn't extract that video. Canton has an IT director, right? And so like, let's do this crazy thing where we go down to the Canton town hall and we interview the Canton IT director. He'd probably be thrilled. Like, he's like, somebody wants to talk to me. Okay. Like, I'm the Canton IT director. Like, wow. Okay. I'm going to be famous. So we went down there and we kind of, we sat it. Like we went right in his office and we're like, so what's up with that library video? Did you but we're asking him like, so when you handed the video over, what was there 2 minutes missing to Proctor when you gave it to them? And he's like, well, I gave it to them in this format of a file, electronic file. And now I don't know if you remember, the guy's name is Louis Jutras. He in the first trial, he testified, and Lally asked him, he's like, he gave him a CD-ROM, like it's like 1996. And he's like, so,
and he was like, this is not right.
This is not this is not the format I sent it in. And, that's doing a journalism. That's like, well, yeah. So basically that guy sent an electronic file over to the state police, and then they burned it onto a CD for some reason. And now there's 2 minutes missing. So you tell me who made the 2 minutes go missing.
Well, and 2 minutes is just such a critical time frame. This case is so weird. Like the Karen Reed case is so bizarre. Is there like a moment that just stands out as like the weirdest or like most unexplainable thing for you there?
Oh, I wouldn't even know where to start. I don't know. I mean, a lot of the stuff that came in the TUI report, that dump was like a Christmas for everyone. We're like, holy shit. We thought this story was crazy enough as it is. We didn't even know about like Julie Albert offering a bribe to Michael Proctor, or butt dials at 2:22 a.m. and destroying phones in military bases and whatnot. We didn't know about any of that stuff. So it's just holy shit moment after holy shit moment with this story. It just never ends.
So many, like, I've had trouble explaining this case to prosecutors here because I've got some friends who are prosecutors, and I've tried to explain it to them, and they're just like, no, that can't possibly be how the case was, because they'd have dropped it. Like, this is just
Now, are you in Ontario?
I'm in Alberta.
Alberta. Oh, wow. Way out there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not quite the West Coast. We're one province in from the West Coast.
Calgary or Edmonton?
Edmonton.
Edmonton. Okay. Sorry about the Stanley Cup.
I am not a sports fan, so I wasn't too upset because it meant that there was just less. I got to sleep that night because otherwise it would have just been people honking and banging pans and stuff. And I was like, yes, that is okay. It's okay that didn't go down. Yeah, it's a weird sort of weird trial there. It's so I'm just looking at, how did you sort of react to suddenly, because I knew your previous coverage had gained some sort of local notoriety, but this suddenly was like national and international. How did you react to sort of suddenly becoming this huge name?
How did I react to it, or how did it happen?
Well, I guess some of both, because you kind of made people pay attention to this one. So I guess whichever first and then the other.
Well, it was organic. I didn't mean for this to happen. This was just another story for me. Like this is every morning I wake up and make the donuts and I read the inbox and I see what's interesting to write about. And if it's something that really just, you just want it, you're like, oh, I got to attack this story. And, when I saw this story and I read up on it, I'm like, oh, this is a gem. This is a great story. I can't wait for this one. But I've had that feeling many times before about stories. This is hardly the first time I've woken up and been like, oh my God, I can't wait to write about this story. It was one of many. And granted, it was like crazier because, like you said, right? It's what your friends at the prosecutor's office said, how they're like, yeah, I couldn't go forward with this. That's what made it so remarkable is that after I wrote about it, they still went forward with it. In fact, they doubled down. Like, microscopic pieces of taillight were not found in the clothing until like 3 months after I started writing about this. The GPS data that shows that John never went in the house, that they got that like 2 months after I started writing about it. It was almost like they needed to strengthen their case. In fact, it used to be death by 3-point turn. That was the original thing, was death by 3-point turn, until we published Can't Cover Up Part 73. And someone made a little video showing that actually, if he backed into him, like Matt McCabe said, like Matt McCabe did the V-shaped tire. He said he saw V-shaped tire tracks in the snow because they wanted to make it sound like a little 3-point turn. But the problem is, if he did a 3-point turn, she would have hit him with the left tail light, not the right one. And it's like when you see, and you're like, oh shit. So then they had just abandoned ship, and they were like, actually 24 miles an hour reverse. And she started 60 feet up there in front of the Asian house. And for some reason, he just stood there. And bro, I'm like, I had like 3-point turn more. That made more sense. I'm like, what? At least that could sound like an accident. And I'm like, he just stood there like a piñata and put his arm out like a target practice. And lo and behold, she hits the bullseye on her first try, drunk in the middle of a blizzard. That's impressive. I mean, it's just like every time another aha moment was when, I remember this well. I think this was during some sort of appeal to the SJC. I forget what, in some sort of filing. The Commonwealth abruptly said that Michael Proctor towed Karen Reed's car at 4:15. And that in the previous report, they said it was a scrivener's error because it was 5:30 for the longest time. And then they not only did they stick by 5:30, they came up with excuses for it. They actually blamed it on daylight savings. They're like, no. The clock at Bill Reed's house that says 4:15 didn't reset for daylight savings, except the clock shows that the video showed that the sun hadn't set yet. And the sun set that day at 4:56. So how does that work out? There would be no sun if it was towed at 5:30. And there is sun in that video. So that doesn't make any sense. And then they were just like, fuck it, Scrivener's area. Like, we ran out of excuses. They actually ran out of excuses when Barrows came forward, and his report showed 4:15 as well. They're like, oh shit, now we can't blame this on daylight savings anymore. So we're just going to have to call it Scrivener's error because, the number 1, I don't know about your keyboard, the number 1 is right near the number 5. And it's like, how does Scrivener's error means like the G and the H are next to each other. Like, that doesn't make any sense at all. So it was like every time they did that, I just became more and more convinced that I was right. Like, this is insane. Like, they're just proving me right every day. Like, who believes this shit? This is too crazy.
There are so many things where their story just keeps changing and evolving right up until the day of trial. And in fact, mid-trial, we see Brennan and in the second trial going, well, here's a new theory. And I'm going, you guys haven't got this figured out yet?
Even in his closing, he said, I forget his exact words, that he said, we don't know how John was killed. Well, you probably should. I think it would be a good start.
Yeah, it's like, well, we don't know how John was killed, but we totally want to convict, this person.
Yeah, we have a couple thoughts. We have a couple ideas. We're workshopping. Ask us, third trial, we might have a totally different scenario. It's like that. That's the craziest part, is between the 2 trials, you're just allowed to workshop theories. Like the first one, they're like, okay, death by pirouette, in midair, bounces here, lands there, 24.2 miles an hour, 62 feet. This time they're like, actually, we don't know how many miles an hour. Could be 29, could be 23. Your guess is as good as mine. But we do know, as a matter of fact, that it was exactly 32 feet, but then he went 57 feet in back of that, except that would have come in contact with the white Jeep that was there, that 3 people said was there, and everyone else said it wasn't there. So what the fuck is going on here? It's just insane. It's freaking insane.
I mean, I will give Trooper Paul one thing. At least he was like, here's my theory. And I've like, here's my, explanation of what happened. And, he sort of stuck to it. Whereas then we end up with, Captain Fingerpaint, who, he was a bit all over the place. It was bizarre.
Personality disorder, that guy. At least Trooper Paul was, not, I don't want to say likable, but not like hateable.
I felt bad for Trooper Paul.
Yes, like, a lot of people did. A lot of people felt bad for Trooper Paul. Like, it was impossible to like hate the guy. Whereas like Judd Welcher, it's like, oh, everybody knows a Judd Welcher. Like everybody knows the guy that's just always right. Always. Like every argument he wins. Like that guy has never, ever lost an argument with his wife ever. I will guarantee you that. Undefeated.
I feel bad for his wife.
Well, isn't he rich? Didn't he sell his company to Aperture? That's what Melanie Little was saying, for like millions, like I want to say 9 figures or something crazy like that. So I think his wife's doing all right.
I mean, I'm never going to make 9 figures. I know that. Yeah. So I guess he's doing okay if that's where he's sitting. But it bothers me that like everybody ends up way ahead for doing some of the most terrible work on this file, right? It's
everybody but Proctor. Everybody did come out. Though not everybody, in a way. Like the McAlberts definitely are not better off as a result of this. Like you wouldn't want to be them right now, moving forward in Canton. Like it's not a pleasant for the rest of their lives. Yeah, okay. I guess not going to jail is a good thing, right? But everywhere they go, they just have their head on a swivel. They have to wonder, who's talking about me? What do these people think I'm this person? These people think I killed John O'Keefe. Like, have they been following this? And the chances are, yes, like wherever you go, they are famous now. And so I wouldn't really want to be them.
I mean, they kind of made those choices. It's interesting. How do you deal with sort of all of because you've become famous on this as well. And I know you get a lot of, a lot of criticism and so forth. How are things for you? Like walking around town when people recognize you, that kind of thing. Like,
it's cool, man. I'm not going to lie. Like I said, I was a high school teacher. Nobody ever came up to me and was like, dude, that was awesome. That project you guys did. That was dope. That was so cool. Can I take a picture with you? That never happened. Believe it, as much as it should have, it never happened. So yeah, I mean, it happens a lot now. It's flattering every time it happens. I have fun with it. People always say like, oh, I didn't want to interrupt. I'm like, I don't give a shit. It's no sweat off my back. We do a little picture and, you make me feel like I must be doing. It's a good feeling, like to know that like these people value the work that you're doing enough to like want to take a picture with you. I mean, that's cool. I'm not going to lie.
I still get people who come up and occasionally I'll get recognized and they'll like apologize. And I'm going, why are you apologizing? This is a cool thing to happen.
Oh, totally. It is.
Do you get hassled by like, the anti-free Karen Reed people at all in public or?
Well, you might have seen the Tristan video. Have you seen the video of Tristan confronting me at Castle Island last year?
I haven't. I saw some videos of like DePetro trying to pick a fight.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you gotta if you can play it, it's good. So I didn't even know who he was. So all right, so we were at Castle Island in South Boston, and I went to go eat there, and I saw this guy in there, and this was like right when the trial. We were probably like a week or two into the trial. He hadn't testified yet, and I looked at him, and he looked kind of familiar, but I didn't really not sure. So I walked around. They got a little loop you do there. You walk around. I walked around it, and then he was the guy I saw inside Sullivan's restaurant there. He was waiting in the parking lot, and he's like, he waited for us, and he's like, so he comes over to me, and he's like, hey, Turtleboy, and I'm like, yeah. He goes, I go, yeah. Do I know? Can I help you? He goes, you know who I am. I go, no, I really don't. And then he's just like, you know who I am. And he's like acting all like a big tough guy. And he's just like, and I'm like looking at him. I'm like, are you Tristan Morris? Because I'm like there's in the back of my head, is that because I always the pictures of Tristan Morris that I published in my articles, he looks like a preppy kid that like is getting like Caitlin Albert's like moving up in the world. When you look at the picture, he looks like a prep school kid. And then you meet him in person and he's like covered in tats and he's just a douchebag with combat boots. You're like, oh yeah, this makes sense why he's marrying into this family. And so he's just like acting all tough with me. And I was going to tape it. That's my defense mechanism, is to take the phone out and start recording it. But he's just like, yo, why? He goes, why you got to take the phone out? Why don't we just have a conversation about this? I go, okay, cool. So no problem. You want to have a conversation? We'll have a conversation. So I put the phone down and we just started talking. And then he, that lasted about 30 seconds when he goes, yeah, and fuck Karen Reed. She's going down. Okay. So now I got to take out the camera. So now we're going to get some content out of this. And so he's like, yo, put the phone down. And he starts swearing at me. I think he like threatened. There's like little children and stuff walking around. He's dropping F-bombs. And he's like, I would put that fucking camera down, bust your face. I think he said something like that. And I'm like, yep, this is a McAlbert in their natural environment, folks. He's telling me what are you even doing here? Go back. You don't belong here. I'm like, dude, you went to Canton and we're in Boston right now. What are you talking about? You don't belong here either. What are you talking about? Neither of us belongs here. Like, come on, cut it out, Tristan, cut it out. And so that was my introduction. So it rarely happens, these negative interactions. And it's almost always McAlbert when it does.
Yeah, I've noticed that there seems to be this, I guess there's very active people who will like hassle me on Twitter, but it always seems like there's only like one at a time. It's, I feel like the numbers are sort of not in their favor on this one. So
yeah, they're definitely not. It's especially in the real world. Like on Twitter, they have some semblance of, a group of people together. Like whether they're bots or who these people are, we don't entirely know. But they've found each other and they reassure each other all the time that Karen Reed is in fact guilty, and that everyone else. They're the 10% of the world that isn't in a cult. I am the most powerful person in the world that can brainwash, potentially hundreds of thousands of people into believing that a stone cold murderer who is guilty of sin is in fact innocent. Like I've done the unthinkable, right? And fooled all these people and the jurors too. I fooled them all. I got Paula was a plant. The foreman was a plant. They're all plants. I control everything. I mean, they need to make up their minds. Either I'm this like diabolical mastermind who controls everything, or I'm like some guy living in his mom's attic, our basement. Actually, Kevin's the guy in the attic, who has it's just a blogger. So I guess they need to make up their minds.
I found the blogger thing to be kind of funny because they're simultaneously saying that you're like the most terrifying figure, but also, the blogger. And I was going, pick a lane, right?
That's what Jennifer Kofen-Doofus calls me. It's just the blogger. She won't even say my name or anything like that. She's something else, that lady.
Oh, did you see where she tried to testify as an expert and how the court handled that?
I didn't read the filings. I saw LawTubers talking about it, and so I got the Reader's Digest version. What exactly happened?
They basically did not find her to be terribly credible. They were like,
in a criminal case.
I don't know if it was a criminal case. I'd have to pull up the case again, but they basically said she came in more as an advocate than as like a neutral party. Shocking. Which, I mean, if you've seen her online, that's kind of how she rolls.
I mean, it's a pretty simple grift she's got going. It's just the defendant is always guilty. and she is here to advocate for the victims' families, which makes her a good person. It's the same thing every time. I'm here for the victims' families on Twitter, and I'm helping the victims by being on Twitter and saying that I care about the victims.
And she's now moving on hastily from Karen Reed on to Koberger. Although everyone's trying to draw a connection between like Karen Reed and Koberger, and I'm going, "Are you guys high?" It's
I know. It's like, well, there is a certain aspect to the true crime community because I'm new to this that seems to believe the defendant is always innocent. And you might have noticed this too, because I got so many emails about like Turtleboy, you got to save Koberger too. He's also being framed. The judge is corrupt. It's always the same thing. And I'm like, yeah, you got the wrong guy. I'm not always going to be like the defendant is innocent. I'll say they're innocent if, well, everyone should have the presumption of innocence, but like, as far as like me really truly believing you're innocent, like without a doubt, like, well, Karen Reed had receipts and like it was pretty obvious to me that she was innocent. So, whereas like Koberger, it's like, so they have his cell phone, they turned his cell phone off, right? Like he turned it off like before he got into Moscow, right? And he then turns it back on at like 5 a.m. They got him on video driving away like a lunatic all over the place. He left his sheath there. It's got his DNA on it. Like, it's like, what? How else? How is this guy innocent? Explain this one to me. I couldn't believe they were actually talking about bringing it to trial. I'm like, oh yeah, let's do it. I can't. Then they canceled.
When Koberger first started, I was looking at it and I was going, I've got some problems with the evidence because their evidence looks pretty thin. And then, but I wasn't following it. I was just like looking at it. And then by the time I sort of came around back to it after covering some other stuff and had a look at it, I was like, oh, he's probably going down. Like this is, they're just adding on. And
he admitted it. I mean, yesterday in court, he just like, so you premeditated murdered them, right? Yes. Oh, okay.
Okay, so case over. Like we done here.
And it's not like with Richard Allen, how you can say that like, well, he said it under duress or, because he was in solitary confinement. He was in a courtroom in a shirt and tie, right? It's like, it's like, how is this? Like, it's not the same thing. So it's like, that guy did it. And it's okay to once in a while, like admit that like they got the right guy, which apparently they did.
Oh, I mean, and the thing is that any case you cover, there's always going to be people who disagree with you and your assessment, and they get super angry. It's funny because I've had cases that I'm covering and I'm like, yeah, this person's probably getting convicted or this person's getting acquitted, and they're like super upset by it. And they're like, why are you on this person's side? I'm like, I'm not, I'm just covering the evidence, right?
Mm-hmm.
I actually got started covering this case, like the Karen Reed case, because I expected Yannetti to fail. Like that was kind of how I got into it. I wasn't planning on covering it. I was actually just sitting there. I was just watching. I was actually working on like a legal filing, and I wanted to have something on to, sort of have something going. And Yannetti gets up and goes, Karen Reed was framed, and that's his big intro. And I went, that's a huge promise, and there's no way he can deliver on it. I thought, and what I was looking like, I was going, I have to cover this, and I was saying, like, there's no way that this gets delivered on. It's never that, you never come in with framed because it's just never something you can deliver on. And I was expecting it to be that, he'd go for a bit and then 3 or 4 days in, they'd annihilate the framed argument. And I kept saying like over and over as I was doing the recaps, I was like, how come his intro isn't ridiculous yet? Like, when is this going to be stupid? That he said,
so you didn't have much of a background with all the pretrial stuff. You weren't following it.
I wasn't following it at all. I sort of went in and was like, I don't know anything. I don't know any of the pretrial stuff. When I was doing the recaps, I was saying, listen, it might have been nice if I'd followed all of this, but it's also kind of nice that I haven't, because now I can sort of look at it like I'm a juror.
It is kind of it is kind of funny how every law tuber who went into it like you just did, Emily Baker, lawyer, they all reached the same conclusion, right? Like it's like, but yet you're called grifters because you just looked at it objectively, and I'm sure you've looked at many cases over the years, and when you've probably heard from defendants a million times that I'm just framed, I'm innocent,
Yeah.
whatever, and then but they don't deliver receipts, and then you turn this one on, and Colin Albert's on the stand talking about his knuckles getting cut up by falling on the ice, and Brian Albert's sleeping through. It's like, not. This is insane, insane.
I was just I was so surprised at like how much they had, because usually when people say I was framed, it comes down to something like, you know, the third officer on scene who has no real role other than that, like he took some took some exhibits into custody, like, is annoyed because I briefly dated his cousin and cheated on her or something, and it's like,
Yeah,
all right, that's not gonna land, but I guess we could try. This one, I was just like, they keep dropping more and more, and I was sitting there watching this, going, "This is the prosecution's case. Like, this is Lally's case in chief. The defense hasn't even gotten started."
no.
And I just keep thinking that opening is still on the table, and it's getting more and more legitimate every moment. I just it's such a bizarre case.
It sometimes I had to remind myself in the first trial, like, these are the prosecution's witnesses, like all of these people. And it really came down to, I mean, it was just so unbelievable, the things that they were saying. And at the end of the day, the thing with the jury that I kind of underestimated is, it's like, but what if they believe them? What if they believe Jennifer McCabe? Which apparently they did, because they must have had to believe them, right? It's like because they must have had to believe that John never came in the house to reach the conclusion that he was hit by a car. Like, there's no other way that these people are somehow being honest. These people who claim that Life 360 data just isn't real, because it's not. And it's sure, it says that she deleted all those phone calls, but she didn't. And it says that she Googled that at 2:27, but she didn't. It's like all this stuff we were trained to believe was like the most critical evidence that could destroy you if you were a criminal defendant. It's just not, because it isn't.
I mean, I got to commend you for your interview with Ronnie. I mean, I was not impressed with Ronnie, but I will commend the heck out of you for getting it, and I suspect that was huge for the defense going into the second trial, because you can see how much they changed their strategy a bit, and in ways that obviously helped. And so how did you get the Ronnie interview? How did that happen?
It's doing a journalism. Like, you just find out, somebody gives you a tip that says, I know a guy who was gone from work a lot during the trial, and there's a rumor out that he was on the jury. And they send me a picture of him, and they go, "Does he look familiar?" I'm like, "Yeah, that guy." Yeah,
you're like, "Yes."
It's the bow tie guy. Yeah, the guy that wore the bow tie every day. Yeah, him. And I'm like, "Oh yeah," and he's an EMT. I'm like, "Oh, cool." So EMTs would get this more than anyone, that Karen Reed didn't hit him with a car. So then I just got his email, and I sent him an email. I honestly didn't think I'd hear back from him. Like, I thought that he'd be like, not interested, because most people aren't interested in putting themselves out there like that. But he wrote back to me, and he's like, "Yeah, sure, I'll talk." I'm like, "Oh," so I didn't even ask him to come on camera. I thought that was like too big of an ask at first. He probably would have done it in hindsight. I did like an interview where I sent him some questions, and he wrote his answers back, and you kind of got to trust me, bro, that this is actually a juror. And then later on, a few months later, I'm like, "Hey, you want to just come on my show?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure." I'm like, "I should have asked a long time ago." So I had him on, and you're right. It was like the hardest part of that was like not watching my head explode live on, because you're like, but then you have to just remind yourself that like what he's saying right now is so important, period, for the second trial. Like, no matter what he says, no matter how infuriating it is, how much it makes your head want to explode, you have to keep your cool here. And, because Ronnie has a lot of insight. Like, you might not like what he's saying, but you have to listen to what he's saying. And certainly the defense clearly used a lot of that stuff in the second trial. Like, they completely changed the strategy based on that interview, I think.
I could see the moments where you were like biting your tongue in that interview and just not wanting to say like what you were thinking.
He,
And,
well, it wouldn't have done any good if I was like, yeah, but what about this, this, and this? It's like, yeah, I could have shown that I know more than him, and that you're wrong about certain things. I could have done that, but like, I'm trying to learn important information here about how to better prepare for the second trial, right? And what do we take out of that interview? Well, they didn't know what the hell reasonable doubt was, which is kind of an important thing, and
yeah,
they hammered reasonable doubt in that closing with their whole post-it notes up there, and that was so it was geared towards a younger audience, clearly. And they also they picked a much younger jury this time on purpose, a more diverse jury. Like, they had the best jury consultant ever in Victoria George.
yeah.
So like, this was a really good and they learned from that interview. So it was important that I didn't burn that bridge, or get mad at him. Like, I can get mad at what he's saying all I want, but what he's saying is important. You got to listen to it, period.
I had so many people who were like, "Why is Turtleboy being so nice to this guy?" And I'm like, "You do not understand. This is an interview, and he's doing it because he's getting great info here. And this isn't. I know it would be satisfying for people to see, see him get yelled at, but um, one thing that is sort of a theory of mine, and I don't know if I'm sort of curious as your thoughts. Um, I don't think Ronnie was being entirely honest about his vote.
I don't think he is either. That's it seems like Ronnie's a bit of a crowd pleaser, in my opinion.
Yeah,
He seems to like tell, and that seemed, which is consistent with how he voted. He was one of, it was 6-6. There's lots of reports that was saying that it was 66 before the Tui Rodriguez, and Ronnie was one of the 6 not guilty votes. But you've met him, like, you've seen his personality. People like him are easily swayed, and they're like, oh yeah, sure. Like, Ronnie is, you can just tell his personality. He's not a fighter. He's not a leader by any way, shape, or
he
form.
wants to be loved.
He wants to be loved. He just wants to be loved. And he also probably wanted to go home, and he's just like, oh yeah, sure. And it seemed like the stronger personalities in that room were the guilty voters, right? The foreman, there was a guy there was 2 PhDs on there, both guilty voters. One was an engineer, and he was basically saying that, like, ARCA doesn't know what they're talking about. Like, I'm an engineer. I know what I'm talking about. They don't know what they're talking about. And ARCA was hired by insurance companies or Turtleboy or whatever. Not, they're not legitimate. They're basically, they were grifters. That's what they were called by the first jury.
Brennan also clearly watched that interview too.
Yes, he did, with the insurance question.
Yeah, I was like, he specifically saw what Ronnie said, and he's trying to push this jury into that same mistake.
Yep. I mean, it made sense why they would think. I'm like, afterwards, I'm like, yeah, I guess so. I guess insurance, that would make sense, right? If they were hired by a car insurance company and they don't want to, and their job is to not have a car crash, I mean, it would save their company money. That would be in their best interest, wouldn't it?
I just, I mean, it makes sense, but it also really illustrated the how some of Judge Bev's rulings kind of shaped the trial. Because if they'd just been able to say, "Hey, who hired you? We were hired by the FBI. They asked us to conduct an independent investigation," and the FBI, all they wanted to know was who did it and like what happened. Right? That's FBI doesn't care. FBI, they're happy with somebody goes to jail. Anybody goes to jail. That's but they don't care who. Yeah, I was just yeah.
That first trial, like, no one in the jury knew. This jury figured it out. Paula figured it out on her own, because she's like the smartest woman ever. But like the last jury, they were completely in the dark. They had no idea, and it's such an important piece of evidence. They're like, well, it's going to bias the jury. It's like, as does most evidence, does it not? I mean, it's like a bloody knife will also bias the jury. It's like, but it's important to show it. Like a broken taillight biases the jury, doesn't it? Like all evidence biases a jury. It's like, yes. So yes, the fact that the FBI investigated the investigation itself kind of tells the jurors, like, this is not common. This is irregular. Like something might be up here where this could affect my opinion, as it should, but the cope, I still can't get over the cope to the FBI thing, is that their response, the government's response to the FBI investigation was that actually we are the victims here of a conspiracy between Karen Reed, her attorneys, Joshua Levy, and something called Turtleboy, right? Have all conspired to frame poor innocent Michael Morrissey and Jennifer McCabe. They are the victims here, as it turns out. That was their actual response to that. And to this day, the idiots on the other side, the plebeians of the world, are still saying that, like, investigate Josh Levy, investigate why this investigation took place, investigate why the investigation into the investigation took place in the first place. It never should have happened. He screwed everything up. He biased. He made people think that the FBI, that something was wrong here, when in fact everything was perfectly fine with this investigation.
Like the people who think that the FBI is for some reason going to step in favor of like Karen Reed, who let's face it, before all of this was nobody, right? And nobody would have ever known who she was if none of this had happened, right? It's just like, why would the FBI suddenly, like, it just makes no sense.
As if any criminal defendant can just say, oh, I'm just going to call the FBI and tell them to investigate the cops who arrested me, and that's how I'll get out of this. Is I'll just call the FBI, and they have no screening process. They just drop everything they're doing and launch millions and millions of dollars in resources into hiring experts, conducting grand juries, sending out subpoenas, doing all this stuff, writing 3,000-page two-way reports. Every criminal defendant gets that whenever they go to the FBI, and they're like, yeah, the cops who arrested me are actually the bad guys. So drop everything you're doing and look into that. Like, this is madness.
I find it so bizarre that anybody takes these people seriously. The the sort of leading lights of the anti-Karen Reed movement are just bizarre people. I gotta say,
I don't think that many people take them seriously. At the end of the day, it is odd how they all get on court TV. Like, that's the weird thing, is that court TV seems to platform a very high proportion of them.
I don't know what the deal is with that. Like, Julie Carpenter is there, and I feel like she must have blackmail material on.
Julie Grant or Julie?
Or sorry, Julie.
Yeah. Same thing. There's no difference at this point.
Yeah. I'm just like, it's so weird, because I've met some of the court TV staff and so forth, and they've been entirely awesome. And then I'm like, wait a minute. Why are you having Coffindaffer on and DePetro and
pretending they're serious, and pretending they're serious truth finders? Like, DePetro's funny as long as you don't take him seriously. Like, when you watch him and it's like, listen, Turtle, and he's doing an act, it's like, see, that's funny, that's comedy gold. But if you're actually taking him seriously, that's a problem.
I don't know. I think it was funny with him trying to hit the vehicle and drive away. I was like, is there a serious possibility here that he ends up with a greater punishment than Karen Reed? That would be hilarious.
That's how I knew that was a sign from God. There's no other way to explain that. Because things were getting really boring there in Dedham for a while. There, we were on the fourth day of deliberations. We're like, is anything? I couldn't deal with one more person asking me, what do you think, what's going on? As if I know. I'm like, what do you think's going on? The conversations got so boring. There was nothing to talk about. And then the highlight of Wednesday was DePetro apparently did a hit and run in the parking lot and broke a taillight. I mean, this has to be a sign from God that this guy who is the biggest anti-Karen Reed, anti-conspiracy person involved in this whole thing, right, accidentally backs into a car at a low rate of speed, the same rate of speed that Karen Reed was backing into John's Chevy Traverse in, right, and breaks a taillight after telling us for months and months and months that you can't break a taillight doing that. He breaks a goddamn taillight, and then an hour later we have a verdict. Tell me that wasn't a sign from God. That was crazy.
It's just one of the many, many things that if you like, I feel bad for the people who have to make the movie of all of this because it gets to the point where it's just like there's so many weird things going on here that if you weren't familiar with the trial, you might be like, okay, this is not realistic. This is,
Right.
this is silly. And all of it happened. It's
I know. It's like if you were to write this as a Hollywood script, never mind a piece of nonfiction, right? It wouldn't make it past the cutting floor. They'd be like, "Come on, dude, this isn't. We're trying to make a movie for grown-ups here, something that's like slightly believable. Like this is not. This is ridiculous." But so he answered the phone while he was having sex with his wife at 2:22. What? After a night of drinking, what? How does that make it? What, the dog didn't wake up in the morning, like with all these first responders in the front. Nobody's going to believe that. We can't sell that. We can't. But then it happens.
I like the thing about, well, we get the butt dials because I set the phone down, like in the bed, and I'm like, in order to get down with your wife, you put the phone in the middle, like.
Yeah, I guess I still don't understand how that would butt answer it. And after Higgins butt called them, he butt answered it while in the middle of making love to his wife, who were both in their mid-50s, who have been drinking all night long. They're just like, you know what? Let's tonight would be a good night to bone all night because fuck it. You're only young once.
I just, nobody has a password on their phone in that, in that town. It's weird. It's just, I mean, the problem is I keep trying to explain this trial in a way that is like an ordinary trial. And the problem is it doesn't work that way because you just cannot, there's just so many bits that are unexplainable other than, the only thing I can come to that explains them is malfeasance, right? Is wrongdoing.
The only way any of this fits or explains to me or makes any sense to me is if John O'Keefe was killed inside the house. That's it. That's the only piece of the puzzle that makes all of this fit is John O'Keefe was inside the house. Nothing else fits. And so they say that we're the conspiracy theorists, but it's like, actually, this is the only theory that makes any sense. Like your theory involves a conspiracy in which Isaac Newton temporarily halted the laws of physics on Brian Albert's front lawn for a couple hours, and then which a perennial plant called taillight grows out of the ground every February, periodically. Just more and more taillight just appears, and yet we are the conspiracy theorists. Okay.
The one that was actually kind of fun is because I'd have people taking a run at me, and I'd be going, okay, explain the tail, like the rear bumper glass, and explain how that one makes sense. That they have this rear bumper glass that matches to nothing except a piece of glass at the scene that is not connected to anything else except Proctor. Like, explain this in a way.
So the bumper glass and the taillight does not match the cocktail glass, right? It doesn't match it.
No, it doesn't match the tail. It doesn't match the cocktail glass. There's no glass in the tail light, so it's not from the tail light, and it doesn't match up with anything there.
So why did Proctor plant that? Like what?
You know what my theory is?
Yeah.
My theory is that Proctor went looking around at the scene, finds a piece of glass, takes it back, puts it on the bumper, and is like, now we're good.
And it was
And he doesn't realize that this piece of glass is not from the cocktail glass.
yeah.
He just finds some random piece of road glass, because otherwise, like, it's the only thing that I can think of that actually explains that. And I mean,
what about the hair?
the hair also just
like whose bright idea was that? Like, let's throw a piece of hair on there.
I can't see how the hair sticks, right? It just
my favorite is the straw, though. When they mentioned the straw, like they found a straw, like, oh gee, holy shit, Sherlock Holmes. Not a straw. Well, I guess she did it. I guess she freaking did it. There's a straw in the ground. There's no other way for a straw to get there. Like, are you kidding me? Oh,
and, I mean, you walk down a street, you find 3 or 4 straws. It's not, it's not an uncommon object to find on the street. I've got like a fast food place that's down the way. There's straws all over the place if I walk down the street, because people, throw garbage. It is.
And it's funny because, like, as a sports fan, like, you're watching, your team all the time, and everybody knows better than the head coach, right? The fans are, well, I'm like, oh, you should put this guy in, you should do that, you should do that. I had many moments like that during the Karen retrial. I was much smarter than Alan Jackson. But like one time, like what I was like screaming at the TV, I think like their biggest, like, oh, why didn't you guys do this, was when they had O'Hara on the stand. And they really need to emphasize, right, that to this day, we still have no fucking clue who found that taillight. None. We know the CERT team found it, but we don't know which person on the CERT team, because they've never testified. And, oh, yeah, he said 4 mystery men who he thinks are from the Canton Police Department, he thinks, just showed up. Was it one of them? I don't know. Alan Jackson never kind of grilled him on that, about who specifically found it. We know you guys found it, the CERT team, but that's like a bunch of you guys, right? Like, which person found it, and why aren't they on the stand right now talking about this?
Sometimes it's just, if you don't know the, if you don't know the actual answer, you just don't want to, get in there, right? Because if you don't know the answer, there's a possibility it could bite you in the ass. I get that one. The moment I had where I was just like, oh, I wish they'd done this a little more, was the close of the first trial, when they didn't go and just hammer on reasonable doubt, because you always hammer on reasonable doubt in your close as the defense, right? Always. And I was like, I want to hear more on reasonable doubt.
They didn't mention it in the first close. I mean, the first closing was that's the kind of closing you do when you're up 80-0 and you're like, oh yeah, we got this one. This has been over for a long time, but now is my time to do something like really historic. Like the speech that Alan Jackson gave in the first closing was like, would have gone, like, that's the kind of speech that, like, oh wait, the history books are memorializing this one, so I'm going to do this impassioned speech about how you guys have the chance right now in your hands. Do you have it in you? Like, it was like he was asking him
football clothes, or spiking the football clothes. I'm
right. Like he was like trying to get them to be like, you guys have the chance right now to do something really special. It's like, nah, she's just not guilty. It's just, there's reasonable doubt. And that's all there is to it. Because when you tell them that, like, you have the chance to do something really special, it makes it seem extraordinary. And it really wasn't that extraordinary. The government, like the foreman this time was like, what do you want me to say? They couldn't prove he was hit by a car. So I couldn't, if you could, I would have convicted her, but you couldn't. So that's the end of that.
I loved every bit of every bit that we've seen from the jury after this. Like, Paula is the anti-Ronnie.
Yes.
Every bit of like Ronnie needs to be loved. Paula's out there on Twitter giving every bit as good as she's getting from, and then some, from like the antis.
I wonder if he's jealous. I wonder if he's jealous at all of Paula.
I suspect.
Because he was, Ronnie stopped returning my phone calls after the interview, because Ronnie became big time. He was like the darling of Canton Confidential and everything, and all out there. And now all of a sudden, Paula's the belle of the ball, and it's no one's talking about Ronnie anymore.
Well, I also really love the foreman because he's just like, yep, they got to investigate and figure out who did it. And it's like, so who do you think did it? He's like, not my job. My job was, you know, and then of course the auntie's trying to spin it around, going, oh, well, it's got to be, you know, he said she was innocent at the beginning of the trial. And it's like, well, yes, that is legally how that goes.
Yes, as are all defendants,
Like,
technically, you know.
he just understood the assignment, right? That's it. Like Koberger was legally innocent right up until his guilty plea was accepted.
Yes,
And
right.
then he's legally guilty, right?
Yes.
I got a question here that I like. It's a good question. I'm probably not pulling up super chats. So again, I gave this warning on the last interview. It applies to this one. If you're in, if you're sending a super chat because you want me to pull it up, please don't, because I can't promise. But this one, do you know why the sidebar transcripts are still sealed?
I don't know, other than that everything in Norfolk County seems sealed or impounded. It's like they're obsessed with secrecy in this county. Like we are, so we have a hearing on Monday, and one of the motions we're filing is to, unimpound a stack of text message communications that we got between the DA's office and Jennifer McCabe and Kerry Roberts, and a group chat between Morrissey and Tully and Buchanan and Proctor. And there's just so much amazing, juicy stuff in there, and we can't talk about it. It's all germane to the case. It's all, none of it's like about your kid's doctor or any, like, somebody's personal phone number, that stuff that you don't, you should really protect, right? Like, none of that stuff in there. It's just embarrassing to them. It's like this county is obsessed with secrecy and hiding things from the public. That's my only explanation for that.
It is very odd. Although I will give the judge some credit for, for actually having cameras in the courtroom, because otherwise, a lot of people would never have known what happened here. And
Auntie Bev wanted those. Trust me, she wanted those cameras in the courtroom. She was getting her hair. She wanted to be on this case. She kind of likes being the villain. Like, she kind of embraces it. Like, I'm Auntie Bev. I'm the person that, like, yeah, you call me Auntie Bev. Like, I'm a character in this all, and I'm kind of a cunt. Like, I'm kind of a bitch. Like, you kind of hate me a little bit, but guess what? I'm running the show here, and like, I'm the guy that kind of puts Alan Jackson in his place. And yeah, because he thinks he's a hotshot from California and he makes 10 times as much as me. But guess what, mofo? This is my courtroom now. This is Auntie Bev's courtroom now. And I'm constantly going to remind you of that. Like, she liked it. She wanted another mistrial. I was convinced of that. Like, she's like, oh, mistrial. Nice. Back for more. Another here's going to the salon again, girls. Going to get dolled up for round 3.
Well, she would have stayed on for round 3, and it would have been an entire further shit show. I was so glad that we did not get the mistrial. I was getting worried.
Yeah, even after the questions, even after jury questions,
I was worried, because what I was worried is that I was worried that you might have, like, the nightmare scenario that was going through my head is 11 jurors are like, we want to acquit her of everything but the OUI. And then one juror who's like, I don't even think they have that. I acquittal on everything and I will not move.
I think that's what they had. I mean, I haven't gotten that exact information out of Paula or others, but I honestly think that's what they had, is that a couple jurors eventually compromised on guilty for OUI just to help Karen Reed. They're like, all right, fine, whatever. Like, we can't mistry this again. We have to throw this woman a bone. We got to end this nightmare for her. I don't even think she's guilty of OUI, but I'm going to vote guilty anyway to be sympathetic to her.
I mean, that might have been a good thing about a lawyer on just going, listen, if if we deadlock on this thing, she goes back to trial again. And I mean, it would have been a trial on the entire manslaughter thing. It would have been,
Yeah.
serious stakes on it.
And Alessi wouldn't be back. I don't think. I mean, these people have practices. They can't just
Yeah.
uproot their lives forever for free. Like they can't do it again. Like they needed a verdict. And Cameron Reed's parents can't do this. Like nobody had the. They were tired. Nobody could do this anymore. They needed finality to it. So luckily they got it this time around.
I mean, that's the other thing I was kind of worried about is that I was seeing, her parents are older, right? And this kind of stress takes it out of people. I was going, I'd really hate to see a scenario where, they don't live to see her acquitted because, you never know. I'm really glad that they got to be there and see that and see all of the, because I mean, they've been heroes through this whole thing too. They've been sitting there. They've been, and I saw her dad interviewed. The guy just seems like an absolute sweetheart, right? Just an absolute.
He's America's dad. It's like,
yeah,
we should all be so lucky to have that type of relationship with our children when they become adults that he has with his daughter.
I thought. I mean, I just sort of lift a glass, and I'm also just going to say I don't know that team. I suspect that team might have been back because they. I mean, they all did a tremendous amount of work for no money, right?
Yeah, and you're right. I think they viewed it as an investment, like that, and it's paying off now. Like the movie, you saw the movie announcement. Like Karen Reed's going to get paid. It's not going to come from suing the state. It's going to come from pure capitalism. Like that's how she's going to get paid from this, like pure American capitalism. And it's funny. So I'm having Alan Jackson on my show Saturday night, and I had a conversation with him. He called me the other day, and he's like, he goes, honestly, like I'm seeing a lot of people in the comments suggesting that, we are unappreciative of the work that you've done and that there's some sort of rift between us. He's like, he's like, I am ending this once and for all. So he's got a lot to say. He wants to come on. And I talked to him and I said, he can't get too into it because he's like basically a lot of the stuff, like I said, making money now. Like to write a book,
exclusives.
You need exclusives. That, right? You can't give everything away for free, right? So and I get that. That's just how it works. But I said to him, I go, can I just tell you something, Alan? I'm like, you realize what a ballsy move it was not to call Proctor, Higgins, or any of the McAlberts. I go, do you realize, like, if she was convicted of anything serious, right, you would have gone down as like the biggest fuck up ever. Like that, it would have been destroyed. Risk. Like, yeah. And he's like, he's like, I believe me, I thought of that a million. It was the biggest risk of my life, like of my professional life, not calling those people. Because you're right. If she was convicted of anything, there's no takebacks. I would have been, and it would have been my fault. We would have been crucified for leaving that on the table. And so I thought that was a really cool little thing there that, Alan Jackson and this defense team, it's unique. Like they watch everything. They watch these streams. Like you got Yannetti and Alessi doing the tour now. They're the new Ronnies, right? And like they're coming on your program. How'd you get them first, by the way? How'd you do that? They email you or vice versa?
It was actually largely Alessi's daughter played a huge role in that. So she reached out to me sort of mid-trial. I did a little like short video. And it was because of a moment that Alessi had that I thought was just super badass, where he sort of says, I'm going to take 60 seconds to respond. And the thing is every time a lawyer says that, they're not taking 60 seconds. No, they are like, it's going to be longer than that. But he takes 60 seconds and he annihilates Brennan. Like it was just ugly. Like he spends like his first 15 seconds correcting Brennan on several technology oopses. And then he goes and just, so I had that up. I had him get up and I put a little countdown timer on it. and a little thing say, and then at the end it had like the gone in 60 seconds thing. And it was just like a bit of fun. And so she reached out and was like, hey, we shared this around. It was funny. Now, my first thought when somebody, sends me a message with, a name like that is, sure you did, and sure you are, right?
Mhm.
Like that was kind of my first thought, because anytime somebody reaches out, you're like, you gotta be careful
am
of
I being trolled here?
Yeah, and you don't want to be like DePetro, where he does like an interview with a juror who isn't. So
I'm sorry, but there was two of them. There was two jurors that were juror 4 and juror 17, and juror 4 told him that Auntie Bev recommended a list of journalists for us to speak with, and you, sir, were at the top of the list. Just to build up his ego. I'm like, he ran with it. And he's taken no ownership of it. He just hasn't addressed it. It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
But, you talk to somebody and eventually it's like, okay, this is actually who I'm talking to. And, just chatting about like random stuff. And I forget how it came up, but it was just talking about like what my goal is, and I'm working towards it. I'm getting closer to it. But my goal is to do YouTube as my income, so that I can stop worrying about lawyering as an income and just like do entirely pro bono cases, right? That's what I want to be.
Are you there yet?
I'm getting close. The problem is that the YouTube thing is up and down, and got debts and so forth. And the last thing I really want to do is like make a jump and then land on my face, right? I did a test a bit ago to be like, maybe I can do this. And the test was with the Rust trial. And I was like, all right, and so I blocked out my calendar. I took a bunch of time off. I was going to do Rust, and then Rust fell apart.
Yes.
And that was kind of a lesson of like, maybe I need to be cautious here, because I don't want to end up in a situation where I've kind of blown everything up and, all of that. So
I do wonder how, like, Tragos has time for any clients. I'm like, that guy has a recap of every day of the trial by like 6 p.m. And I'm like, bro, when do you work?
I suspect part of it is that I suspect at this point Tragos is making enough money off YouTube that it's his primary, primary thing. But also he's got a firm behind him, and I suspect he's also, now I don't know, but I suspect he's got like, juniors who can write up a brief of what went down and help with that.
Mm-hmm.
And I have me, right? Because my entire career, I've never really chased money. I've done way too much sort of pro bono or low bono work and that kind of thing. So like I have me, and at some point it would be that I should get like a producer and I should get all of these things, but I'm honestly genuinely bad at it. I'm bad at the delegation. I'm bad at that kind of thing. But that's what I really want to be at, is I want to get to the point of that. But she sort of she passed that along, and so and the thing is I still had a concern that I might be getting punked right up until and including like getting on the phone and talking to Alessi to like work things out. I was like still sort of aware that there is AI that is good enough to fake a voice, especially because, and I'm not, I don't want to disclose everything in that conversation, but like, Alessi he's careful about how he talks, right? You can see it in his interviews. You can see it about, and so he pauses before he says things because he's making sure that he's going to say what he, and I'm just going, could this be somebody typing into like what do you call it, 11 Labs or something? And I'm just going, so I'm just going like, please tell me I'm not announcing the biggest interview and it'll just be like nobody shows up because I got, so I was just like, oh God, kind of nervous. But that's kind of how that happened. And I don't know if I deserve it. I don't know if, if I deserve, but, and I mean, there's people out there online who are like, saying I definitely don't because they were like, they should have gone on your channel. I'm like,
In the words of you watch The Wire.
yeah,
Yeah, in the words of Snoop Pearson, deserve ain't got nothing to do with it, right? There's no such thing as deserve, right? You go out and get it. Like you got like your content got the attention of Alessi's daughter, so that's earning it, is it not? Like that's why she contacted you because you earned her, and then she had connection. That's how life works. Period.
yeah, it's just it feels weird, and but it might. I'm working on like trying to see if I can make the big jump, and if I do, there'll be a huge announcement, and it'll just be like, okay, this is what I do. I'm just going to do the YouTube thing and stay in law just for free, right? And look for, and I mean, the Karen Reed trial is also kind of a huge
Yeah, I don't think
inspiration on that.
they don't grow on trees though. Karen Reed trials, I'm new to this because I rarely find a lot of this stuff that usually the defendant's guilty, and it's not as interesting. Like very rarely do you get like a real who done it, right? I'm guessing. I mean, you've been doing this a while. Like these are rare, are they not?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, something that grabs people's attention like this is rare. But I mean, just in the sense of watching, I think Yannetti got paid initially and then the money ran out and was like, I'm not abandoning you. I'm sticking on. And others came on and are like, yeah, there's no money, but I'm gonna do it. This matters. Um, Watching something like that sort of redoubles your I want to just go out and help people, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, but
it's just a matter of making it
they
work.
saved a person's life. Like that's crazy. And a person who like you got to give it to the government. They tried their best to. I mean, they weren't working with much, but Jesus Christ, they didn't make anything easy, did they? I mean, everything was a fight. Everything was a battle. And like to me, this should have been the most open and shut, not guilty ever. But it turned out after that first trial, you're like, holy shit, there's people that actually believe this that aren't on Twitter, right? You
Yeah.
can find people in real life that actually will think this is real. And I think we were all kind of jaded by that a little bit too, because I think the second jury, like when you present a reasonable doubt defense, which is what defense lawyers traditionally do, it's kind of like undeniable. Like, yeah, you got not as long as you don't make them feel like that by acquitting Karen Reed, you are convicting Jennifer McCabe. I think some people were uncomfortable with that in the first trial. They're like, well, I'm not really 100% sure Jennifer McCabe did it. It's like, that's okay too. That also means not guilty. And I don't
Yeah.
think the first jury really understood that.
I don't think even a lot of people out there understand reasonable doubt. It's such a difficult concept for most people because tons of people just attacking me or attacking you or going like, isn't it possible this could happen? It's like, sure, possible. Vanishingly unlikely, but sure, possible. I can see a possibility, maybe not really, for guilt. I mean, I actually have a hard time even
I
at this
don't.
point getting the
Yeah,
possible. Or at least the possible leaves so much unexplained that I just don't know what's going
that's
on.
it. Yeah.
And I just am like, okay, but you getting me to possible doesn't get to guilt. That's an acquittal, right?
Yeah, it is. It is. And every possible thing, like because I've tried to come up with a way in my head in which Karen Reed did this because I'm like, because I need to be sure of it, because I'm kind of betting my whole, my livelihood on this. It's like is on her innocence. So like, okay, well, could it have been this way? And then there's always something that's like, no, it couldn't happen because this makes it impossible for that to have happened. Okay, so nothing ever gets past why Ryan Nagel and the other two people saw her alone in the car. Nothing gets past that. Literally nothing. That's and I still can't believe the government has called them as witnesses for them twice.
Yeah.
They called them. They're like, let's get the people up here who are going to say Karen was alone in the car. What? Like how? at least Hank somewhat tried to make sense of that. Like it made no sense, but he goes, actually, the fact that the dome light was on is evidence that John had just opened the door. So like apparently Nagel and Maxon and Dantano, when they drove by at the exact moment that John had just gotten out of the car. So like they're behind him and John's in the car, and then they're pulling up and John opens the door and gets out, and that's why they don't see him, because it was that, like, that's what Hank wanted us to believe. Like it's just crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
Yeah, it's like their theory just kept being like, okay, so imagine you throw a dart and it goes through like a little tiny ring, and then it goes through another little tiny ring and another one. And isn't it possible that like all of these coincidences and tiny little like 1 in a million chances all line up? And I go, no, no, it's not, right? And also forget about like the missing footage at critical moments. Forget about all of these weird details. And I go, I don't understand it. And they're putting so much work into, like, they're still trying to push this and to suppress narratives and whatever else. Like, when's your next court date?
Monday, 2:00 at Norfolk Superior Court.
So, like, I look at that and I'm just like, it seems to me to be a pretty clearly politically motivated prosecution, because it's like Turtleboy made this difficult for us, and so we want to throw him in jail. I just don't get that.
Did I lose you? Oh, crap.
Oh, I can hear you, but you are video locked.
Did I lose you there? Sorry about that.
I can still hear you, but your video's... Oh, now you're moving again. I think it was
cool.
just
Sorry about that. Yeah, it's like when the same police who you've been accusing of covering up a murder show up at your house to arrest you, you might be onto something. Like it's just like, wait, it's the same guys. Like there's like 2,000 people that work for the state police. You guys could have sent anyone to arrest me if I committed a crime. You sent the guys that I'm accusing of covering up a murder. Like, how bad does this look to you guys? I'm like, this is a joke, right? You guys are the ones of all people who are charging me and arresting me because Michael Proctor's in a mood. Like, that's all this is. Michael Proctor's in a mood. Michael Proctor didn't like the fact that I made a comment on my show one time that when he went to jail, I was going to adopt his kids and teach them how to throw a spiral football, because all American kids should know how to throw a spiral football. And I'm like, it's not fair. It's not, just because if their dad goes to federal prison, that's not their fault. Like so I volunteered to step up and do that. And
okay, that is some quality shade though.
Well, but he didn't like that Michael Proctor, as we're going to see, got in a mood and just decided he has to go to jail for that because we have guns and badges. And why aren't we doing something about this? He's making fun of us. There has to be some way that we can make this illegal. There has to be. And then they're like, okay, well, let's just look through the Mass General laws. And okay, well, this one's fucking vague as shit. We can make this one work, right? And that's what they did. They just took the witness intimidation statute, which is the most open-ended, vague law I've ever seen. And they're like, yeah, we can make anyone guilty of witness intimidation with this law.
I looked at it and I was just like, so basically if you do anything and a witness somehow catches feelings over it, you can be charged? Like,
yeah. And there's two main things in the statute. Number one is the harm factor, right? Or injury, which can be physical, financial, or emotional, which is whatever you're feeling, right? Okay, so that's one thing. You caused emotional harm to a witness, all right, and with the intent to, or the reckless disregard for the fact that it may interfere with an ongoing criminal proceeding. So I'm like, I'm looking at the statute, like, oh, cool, that's no problem, because clearly I'm not trying to interfere with the trial. Clearly I want a trial. Like, trial is great for business. Like, good luck charging me with that after I'm like, I can't wait for a trial. Trial's awesome. But no, As it turns out, all the witnesses have to do is just get on the stand in front of a grand jury, and it's their interpretation of why you're doing it that actually matters, because all of them testified in front of the grand jury. When asked by Ken Mello, the special prosecutor in this, why do you think he's doing this? I think he's doing this because I am a witness in the Karen Reed case, and he does not want me to testify. Of course, that's not why I'm doing it, but that's what they think is the reason why I'm doing it. And that's all that apparently matters, is what they think my motivations are.
I just, I mean, I guess the bright spot on this is you've got some really good lawyers.
Yes, I'm blessed.
I watched the bail revocation proceeding, and I was just like, these guys are good.
Which one? I've had 4.
I guess I'm not really sure which one it is, because it gets to add up. I think it was Betterow at the end who comes in like just going, Judge, this is free speech. Like, basically just screw these guys. This is free speech. And I'm like, yes. This is exactly what needs to. And I mean, the point I was making, and I think I prefaced this with like, Turtleboy, if you watch this, please don't hate me, is like, listen, a lot of people out there think you're an ass, and they're allowed to.
Fair.
But like, that is what free speech exists for, the content that somebody out there doesn't want said, right? Because if you just say puppies are cute, nobody cares enough about that to try to stop you. And the First Amendment came about in a time when journalists were all like, unvarnished, and you'd have a guy sitting there at like the town square going, hear ye, local mayor like is, slept with a goat or something like that. And he's like, no, I didn't. And it's like, well, that's what the First Amendment was for, is so that guy doesn't get thrown in jail for saying something that was embarrassing to the mayor or whoever it was. And I was just like, I feel like we need a reminder about like First Amendment issues and why this exists.
What I'm all for people saying I'm an ass. What I'm against is arresting me for being an ass. Like, that's it's cool if you think I'm a douchebag and you don't like me and you want to tell me what a douchebag or a piece of shit I'm in. That's cool. Give me the middle finger. Tell me I'm an asshole. Just don't put me in jail over it. Like, don't arrest. Like, that's when it's gone too far. It's like, no, you can't. When the government's like, no, you go to jail for, you're an asshole, and that's now illegal, and because you can't be an asshole anymore in this country.
And this is the thing, is you support the First Amendment, so you're like, when you're like, hey, if I'm a jerk, your solution to that is to call me a jerk, right? That's the remedy. And this is how this should be. And it horrifies me to see what's going on there. And I mean, the other possibility here is when I look at like the coverage of cases, like the coverage of everything this year, when I think who deserves like a Pulitzer Prize, if they actually, I'm like, you do, because you broke a story nobody else was paying attention to. And you were right. Like, you had the scoop in a way that nobody and none of the, and even right now, major networks are sitting there going, well, the jury must have had it wrong. And it's like, no, the jury did not have it wrong. Mm-hmm. They had it wrong, and they're covering their ass. You're the one who did actual journalism on it. And like, it horrifies me to think that we have somebody who's like, should by all rights be walking away with one of the most prestigious prizes in journalism, who's also looking at, possibly a cell. It's bizarre to me.
Well, hopefully I'm in good hands, so hopefully that never happens. But
I hope
being on bail in the first place is like you're just on thin ice, and it does create a chilling effect, because like there's things that I would like to do that I'm afraid to do, quite frankly, because I'm like, I don't want to fuck around. Like if I see Hank Brennan at a coffee shop, my
Yeah.
instant reaction, like my every instinct in my body is to take out my camera, go over to him and ask about that sweatshirt. Okay. And and just why you're such a douchebag. Like I have so many questions for him, but I'm afraid to do that now because the chilling effect is like in effect. And you're like, well, is that going to put me in jail? Is that illegal now? I can't afford to take the chance to find out. Like, it's like, so that's what they've done. Like by doing this to me, they created a chilling effect with everyone. Like there was a time when people wanted to protest Chris Albert and they just didn't for like a month. And then the Canton Nine kind of tested the waters and they went down across the street from him on the busiest street in Canton and held signs saying free Cameron Reed, resign Chris Albert, etc. He's an elected official, whatever. And I'm
Yeah.
like, surely they're not going to charge these 9 people. Like it's all mostly women and like just people, a couple of them live in Canton. So like he actually represents them in government. And surely they're not going to charge these people with witness intimidation. But oh, yes, they did. And then like, okay, they'll stop there, right? After those people had the charges dropped and nothing came of it. Surely they won't lead a 6-month multi-jurisdictional investigation into rubber duckies. Surely they won't do that. And then they did. It's like they just don't care. They got a piece of this. They got a taste of the witness intimidation statute, and they're like, oh yeah, we can just use this to. We've been looking for something like this forever. Why didn't we find this when Black Lives Matter was around? We could have shut this shit down a long time ago, right? Dissent. We can just shut dissent down because it based on emotional harm. Done.
There is no amount of money that it seems that they're not willing to spend here. It's like the budget is just everything. So I guess if you're in Canton, the next time they say something like there's not enough money for like, sick kids hospitals or something like that, you should be like, well, what was their money for? Rubber duckies?
Plenty of money.
Plenty
of money. Chris Albert's feelings basically just have cost the taxpayers of Canton ungodly amounts of money. Like he has his own personal police force that just come and they police his feelings mostly. Like, are you threatened by any of this, Chris? And I don't know if you saw the C.F. McCarthy's incident last year outside of the restaurant when like they were sitting outside, like they were outside of Satriale's, and the Sopranos, tanning all day. I go out there and these goons are out there and they go up to Meredith and they put one of them touches her and it's like, just a little touch. Come on, bro. Let me touch her a little bit. Like, hey, can I do this? Hey, tough guy, why don't you put that camera down? Come over here, pussy. And Chris Albert's out there telling me I would smash your face up and down this sidewalk. And then his pizza delivery guy hits the phone out of my hand. And then crazy Jill Daniels shows up and all this stuff. And we're like, and I'm like watching this all unfold, and I'm like, yes, exactly. See how they're behaving right now? And this is my whole point. This is what these people do. This is who they are. And it's like, yet they're still protected. It's like they're holding a sign saying, I'm the bad guy. I'm actually the bad guy. And there's still people out there who are like, no, Chris Albert's a victim. Like, wow, we need to protect that guy. Wild.
And the other thing that's funny is I see people like threatening you and so forth. And it's like, you are a witness in a trial, right?
Yes, I am. A potential witness at the very least, which is covered by the statute. Because anybody I'm a defendant, which means I have the right to testify, which makes me a potential witness.
So like, why are they not stepping up? Right? Why are they not, surely they've got a list of people to prosecute over, those threats.
Well, 2 reasons. Number one is obviously not. Like the Norfolk County DA's office isn't going to do anything to protect me, obviously. But number 2 is our willingness to be a victim. Like Paula, the juror, could easily just say that she is experiencing emotional harm, right? And that these people are hurting her. And technically she could do that. She could get in front of a grand jury and do that. But the thing about her is, unlike Chris Albert and Brian Albert and all these other goons, she has this thing called shame and pride. She's also not a pussy. And so she's not going to put her hand on a Bible and say, I'm scared of Turtleboy, like Brian Albert did. Like I couldn't, and Yuri Buchanan did, and Michael Proctor did. They, in order to have me indicted, all of those grown men with guns, badges,
I was
veterans,
just gonna say,
machismo, they're just like, they had to get on the stand and say, I'm scared of something called Turtleboy because he has a camera and a phone, don't you know, and a Wi-Fi connection, and that scares the shit out of me, right? And so people on our side don't have like pride and integrity. We're not going to do that's embarrassing, but these people have no shame whatsoever, so they don't mind doing it.
I look at it and I go, well, if Buchanan is afraid of you, then how is it that he's fit to be a police officer? Because I need a cop who will like run towards a guy who's got like, if there's a guy out there with a shotgun trying to break down my door, I need a cop who will run towards that.
Mm-hmm.
And surely the guy with like the shotgun trying to like blow holes in my door to kill me is scarier than you are. No offense, but
Yeah.
like,
I mean, maybe if Michael Proctor's looking for a job, maybe he should move to Uvalde, Texas. I heard they're hiring down there. They like cowards, It's like, but it's true. It's just like the men with guns and badges are so, and Big Brad Brian Albert, he's a Marine, he's a veteran. He's the gang unit guy, the guy that went and tracked down the Craigslist killer and all these other guys. But yet I'm this person they finally met their match. They just don't know what to do about it. They're just so scared of me. But the thing about it is they're not physically scared of me. Not one of them, not a single person I've been indicted for has alleged that I'm some sort of physical threat to them, that they're scared that they will get a broken bone or a bruise or anything like that for me. Who's been hurt? Like who have I actually hurt? What is the actual victim here? Like every crime, every time somebody's in jail, like you can point somebody out there that is severely hurt by their actions, whether it be, you laundered money, you stole from them, you took their life savings, you almost killed them, you hit them with a car, like whatever, right? You diddled them, who knows? Like or a sexual crime. There's always a victim on the other side of the prison wall that you look at them and you're like, yeah, that guy got fucked up from this. This guy deserves to be in jail. With me, who the hell got hurt? Like, who is looking at this like, oh man, Jennifer McCabe will never be the same. Like, she's fine. She takes her kids to soccer practice. She's just a normal mom, right? That's her whole thing. Like, who's been hurt here?
I don't get it. It's it's bizarre. I just kind of I shake my head and. Is your hearing, your trial, is it going to be televised on Monday?
Yeah, it's not trial's a long day away. We're nowhere close to it. It's just a motion hearing. I have so many charges that we can only tackle a couple of them at each hearing. Like we had our motion to dismiss in March. 6 of the indictments were thrown out, including the ones with Proctor and Buchanan. They're done, luckily. But there's like still, I think, 6 McAlbert felonies remaining, and then 4 picketing charges. I didn't even know picketing was a crime in this country until I got arrested for it. But then I've picked up new ones since then. We've gone shopping. I picked up one Christmas last year. I got a felony witness intimidation charge and a wiretapping charge with Lindsay Gattani. We haven't even addressed that. We have to go and figure that one out. We haven't filed a motion to dismiss. So that's one thing we're going to be working towards. And then the window intimidation ones with Chris and Colin Albert, in which the Glare and I did a comedy routine in which we did not know that we were being audio recorded because Massachusetts is a 2-party consent state. So the default is we're not being audio recorded here. And it turns out we were being audio recorded, and they called it witness intimidation because him and I briefly spoke to an empty storefront for about 60 seconds.
Yeah, I saw that one and I was just like, what? Yeah, I got to apologize. I'm not up on your current stuff because I've been trying to. People are like, you've got to cover this, and I want to cover it, and I'm trying to piece it out, and it's a little bit like, you've seen the meme of the guy standing there with like the string
Charlie,
yeah,
yeah.
and I'm just like, it's such a morass now because they just keep charging over all of these things, and I just am like, how do any of these things make sense, right? How do any of these things I
No,
keep
I'll,
like,
I'll I'll send you a video. I did it like for the because my charges, like whenever somebody asks me like, what are you being charged with? I'm like, how much time you got? So I put together this video a few months ago that kind of explains. I went through the charging documents, the indictments, and I explained this is what the Commonwealth alleges I said and did, and everything I did is on video. Here is what is written in the charging documents. Here's the video of what actually happened. So this, like, it's like, and they just take things that I said completely out of context, like Hank did, with a lot of Karen's clips, and just took, okay, here's a sentence here, and then here's a sentence he says 2 minutes later. We will combine those two sentences and get rid of the entire paragraphs in between them, and then we will completely change the meaning of what he's saying to make it sound much more nefarious and illegal than it actually is, and then we will put this in front of a judge. Or I think the best example of that is that, okay, so Colin Albert, you've seen the Bang Bang videos he did, right? Like with the Bang
yeah,
Bang. Yeah, okay. So like we call him Bang Bang, and I got Colin Albert's phone number, and I called him on a show one time in July of 2023, and I left a voicemail. He didn't answer, and I said, "Yo, Colin, it's Turtleboy from them Advantage Boys. Bang Bang. We gonna fuck you dogs up. You messing with my boys, homie G. We gonna get you, son." And then I said, just kidding. All seriousness aside, this is Aidan Kearney from Turtleboy. I just have some questions about your involvement in the murder of John O'Keefe." And I hang up. All right. And so when it's written down in an indictment, it sounds a lot more serious than it is. Like if you don't watch the Bang Bang video, you don't get the context. So Judge Krupp asks my lawyer, like is Tim's first hearing. Tim, and I couldn't catch him up on everything. Like there was too much.
yeah,
He didn't know how to answer this one. And so Krupp asks him, "Mr. Bradel, you say this is a First Amendment issue. Can you please explain how the First Amendment would protect somebody who says, 'Yo, Colin, it's Turtleboy from them Advantage Boys. Bang, bang, we gonna fuck you dogs up, motherfuckers. We gonna get you.' Can you explain how that's a First Amendment issue?" And Tim was like, political hyperbole. Like he didn't know the answer to that. It's like, no, he didn't. I hadn't prepped him on it. It's like, no, there's a whole backstory. There's like a video. And first of all, Krupp, you're killing the delivery. Can I do it, please? Like you're doing it all wrong. Like you're killing the First Amendment, but you're also killing comedy in this courtroom right now.
you're killing my joke.
Stop.
Come on.
Yeah, stop it.
I just gotta say, so I've got some legal issues of my own, not quite the same, aspect, but it has been kind of eye-opening for me in terms of like the experience of hiring a lawyer. And I like my lawyers. Like they're good lawyers. They're, I think they're on top of it, but you still end up with moments where you're like, and you're just sitting there going like, you don't know what I know.
Exactly.
How do I get you to know what I know? And how do you get that lawyer into your, and sometimes it's difficult. And then, there's a moment, and I'm not going to say sort of which file and which, whatever, but, the lawyer's like, "Oh, this is like actually crazy." And I'm like, "Yes." And they're like, "Oh." Like the lawyer is sort of starting to get that,
Yes.
why things are happening. And it's like, right now, there we go. Now you're on the,
Yes.
now you're on the page there. And,
because no one knows your story like you do, and I think we saw that in Karen Reed's case too. She was a very active criminal defendant, right? Because no one knew her case like she did. And she really, she told me early on, like after that, when Bradel didn't know how to answer the Bang Bang question, the loaded question from Judge Krupp, it's like I had to talk with her. She's like, you and him just need to tell him, he's your lawyer. Like we're going to talk. We're going to have 1 week every week where we sit down for a couple hours and we have a jam session and we go over all this and we just drill it into you so you know it better than ever. She's like, that's where I am with my lawyers. Like, we talk every day. And like I'm constantly drilling shit into them. I have to do my own investigation. I have to, because they don't have time for this shit. Like they have other clients, they have other things. They don't have time to research your whole freaking life like you do, because you're not, ultimately, if you get convicted, they're not going to jail, you are. Like, so you got to advocate for yourself, and you really have to like get your lawyers informed. Like it's to your benefit to help them out. Like they can't do it all themselves.
I was actually super impressed by, like, she's getting up for every sidebar because, of course, she was denied an earpiece, and I'm going, clients never do that, right? Mm-hmm. Clients just
why not? I don't understand why they don't. After seeing that, I'm like, why? She told me that, she goes, wait till you see all, she goes, you guys have no idea the stuff they said at sidebar. She goes, all the good stuff happens at sidebar. That's what she said. She's like, so I hope to God one day we all get to see what the hell they said, because it sounds like all the good shit happened at sidebar.
Oh, I mean, there were plenty of places where I'm like, and here's a sidebar, and you could tell afterwards that the defense won something, and that they won something big, because you'll have Brennan, like, he's trying to resume his questioning, but he was not allowed to pursue this particular line, and you could tell he is pissed off, right? Like, you could tell he is, angry about something, and I'm like, Brennan just lost, and he just lost big, but I don't know why and what happened. And I mean, I can't wait for like the movie stuff, because I know Karen can't get up and talk about all of this stuff. She's not going to be doing the interview circuit because she's A, going to be locked into exclusives, and B, going to be judged for like anything she says, right? But I want to hear like some of this, like just so badly as to what was going on. And yeah,
it got animated at sidebar a couple times. You'd be looking over there, and it's funny that, like, it's crowded in that courtroom, and it's a million lawyers. Karen Reed would literally have to like stand on her tippy toes and like put her ear in there and hear what was going on. But I didn't even know you could do that till this trial. That, like, I want to start doing that at my hearings. I'm going to ask Bradel and Betterow that, like, can I go to sidebar too? Like, why am I sitting at the table? And then they come back and they give you the Reader's Digest version of what happens. Like, no, but I want to hear it. Like, surely there's something I missed there. Like, you guys were up there for 20 minutes. The hell were you guys talking about? And it's like, they can't properly inform you about everything that just happened. And I feel like all defendants should have a right to sidebar.
They actually do it differently here in Canada. We don't typically do sidebars. And so what they typically do is they'll march the jury out.
And just talk about it in open court?
Yep. So like murder trial, like objection, hearsay, and the others like, and can we, can we excuse the jury? And they'll get the jury up. Jury will get marched out, and then you'll have the argument in open court. And then, okay, judge makes a ruling, jury gets marched back in, and the juries hate it. They hate it so much. But
I mean, it's better than sitting there all day. I felt bad for the jurors. I got to give it up for these jurors, man. Like, that was rough every day. I mean, first of all, it's impressive that not one of them got sick not one of them overslept. I mean, that's impressive for 18 people that not one of you gets sick, oversleeps, has a family emergency, nothing for 31 days. That is impressive in and of itself. And that they stayed awake. It's like, it's impressive.
I thought they'd burn through like alternates. To be fair, though, this trial was much more engaging than, say, like when Lally ran it.
Yeah, I guess the Brennan factor did make it. But it was also less engaging because none of the fun witnesses were called. There was no Julie Nagel or Colin Albert or Brian Albert or there was a Jennifer McCabe, but there was no Trooper Paul. I mean, that was the most entertaining one of all of them. Like, instead
there was a Deaver, though.
There was a Deaver. There was a Deaver. And she was something else, wasn't she? She was something else. but like it was like Judd Welcher for 3 days. Like this guy is killing me. Like this guy is just such a pompous douche. I can't listen to him anymore. He was so confident in himself too.
Oh, and I mean, I was just watching the guy going, really? This is the best you've got? Like, and some of his evidence, I was just like, I was ready to acquit as soon as I heard some of the things he said on direct, if I'd been on the jury.
Like what?
When he said we didn't want to test this on a real, like, on a dummy, because we were concerned that we would damage the Lexus that we want to resell.
That, did he say that? I don't even remember. That's I gotta go
He said, I
re-listen to
can't
it.
remember if it was
was his
direct
reason?
or cross, but he said, like, we didn't want to damage the Lexus by hitting a dummy with it at full speed, so we didn't do that test. And I was like, acquit, right? If he
Yeah.
thinks that it's going to wreck the Lexus to smoke a dummy with it at 24 miles per hour, then then this expert in his heart of hearts does not believe the prosecution's case, because the prosecution's case says the Lexus is fine, right? Other than some cosmetic.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, if you
Exactly.
believe the Commonwealth's theory, you should be going, let's get that dummy out and let's smoke it, right?
Yeah, exactly. The Lexus will be just fine, according to you guys. You know, you might lose some blue paint in it all, which somehow wasn't mentioned in the closing at all. It's like that never happened. The blue paint experience. They really thought that was like the aha, gotcha. As it turns out, if you stick your arm up here and it touches something blue, your arm will turn blue. Like, what the fuck? They 400 grand that cost 400 grand. And then you see the ARCA videos and you're like, holy shit, science. That shit's whoa. I couldn't believe those videos. Like, oh my God, that's fast. Like watching that. And it just shows what different worlds that we're living in, because the reaction from the trolls about those videos were like, oh, gotcha. The taillight broke. Karen did it. Like, it was like, are we watching the same thing here? Because I watched those videos and I'm like, oh my God. When you see it happening at full speed, you're like, his arm would be destroyed. There would be no arm anymore. It would be a remnant of an arm. But their take was, aha, the taillight broke. Like, what?
I've never seen like two experts so completely demolished as the Aperture, like, because they were promising, like, Welcher's coming back, he's gonna be there on, for as a rebuttal witness, he's coming back, and then he got so smoked, like so badly annihilated by the other evidence that came out, that they couldn't bring him back. It was just like,
that was Hank covering for himself. I think. I really think that he didn't. That Hank never showed him the X-ray. Hank lied to him about the X-ray, and Hank did not want this guy coming on the stand and snitching on him, because there might be grave concerns there if that had actually happened, which I think would have happened. I don't think Judd would have lied about that. I think that Hank told him there were no X-rays. Because the way Judd said it, he was pretty convinced there are no X-rays.
he seemed confident that there was no X-rays taken.
Yeah.
And I mean, that might have been his conclusion, but if he was shown every X-ray except the arm, I mean, it would be reasonable for him to assume that he'd seen all the X-rays, right?
Which would make it even more nefarious if you shown every X-ray but the arm. That would be even worse.
It actually looks so bad.
And Hank Brennan is like, some people, like, I was watching Melanie's little stream about it I didn't get to watch it live, obviously, because I was there, but I've gone back and I've watched everyone's reactions to it, like live when the verdict comes in. And Bredero kind of credits Brennan for not pushing for more, like settling it right there about the probation and not asking for jail and anything like that. It's like, I disagree. With much respect to Mark Bredero, I think he didn't want to show his face in that courtroom again. That's why he did it. He was just like, I can't ever come here again. I'm out. Like that's all. I think he's a coward.
I still give him some credit for not doing it because he could have decided to be a complete dickbag about it. Now that said, it's minimal, right? Like it is. I guess how do I put this? It's like the guy who has been like dragging his dog over to your lawn to intentionally make the dog shit on your lawn does this for like years. And then one day you look out your window and you see him pick up a single poop that his dog dropped, and you're like, good for him. He okay, he can do the right thing. I don't know if it makes up for all the other poops, but you know,
But only because there was a nefarious motive for picking up that poop. I'm telling you, there was something in it for him that he didn't pick up that poop out of the goodness of his own heart. He did it because he did not want to show his face. I mean, this is humiliating. He lost, and this cannot be emphasized enough. Adam Lally got 9 people to believe that John O'Keefe was hit by a car, and Hank Brennan, for all his bluster and all his bravado, and I'm some big shot, got 0. I mean, that is so embarrassing, and he should be humiliated for that. That Adam Lally showed Hank Brennan what it takes to be a man, what it takes to do a job, right? He showed him how to be a lawyer. Like Hank Brennan should have been the one at that table, pushing paper clips, and we should have had Adam Lally asking these witnesses, do you know if it was snowing that night a million times?
Did Lally and Brennan seem like they get along? Like, because I never saw them in the courtroom.
I mean, they didn't walk in together ever, and it had to be something. I mean, that Adam Lally has to resent him, and just
100%.
When he comes home, he must just complain so much to his wife about how unfair this is.
Like Brennan basically like put him in the corner of the room and is like, okay, you can watch while I do this trial.
Yeah. He threw him a bone once in a while. Like, you can have the really irrelevant, boring witnesses, like Dr. Feller, like the guy the low talker. You can have him, and then we'll give Laura McLaughlin the kids. So when nobody's gonna watch that one, and then I get everything else because I'm Hanky, and that's what I'm the big superstar here. I'm the guy that's gonna be ask you the tough questions and say, "Oh, you don't like that question, do you? Huh? Oh, you don't like that? Oh, really?" It'd just be a douche, but I think it backfired because I've said it before. I'll say it again. I think that Lally was somewhat of a sympathetic loser. Like jurors could feel bad for him. Whereas like Brennan just came across as just douchey and arrogant and just mean for no reason, like mean to people you shouldn't be mean to. Like nobody wants to see you be mean to Lucky Lochran. Nobody wants to see you be mean to Dr. Wolf. Like these aren't bad guys. Like, and Alessi was not mean. Alessi, even though Judd Welcher was the biggest douche ever, not once did Alessi ever get mean with him.
Yeah, Alessi, he had very effective cross-examinations that were very polite, right? Like at the end of it, you had witnesses who were embarrassed, but they couldn't actually say that Alessi had been like mean or sarcastic or sniping at them or anything like that. Whereas like, Brennan's treatment of like Dr. Russell.
Yes, Russell, yep.
Was
like her gasp was that said it all, didn't it?
It really did. And I mean, what do you call it? Yeah, Lucky is a guy you just can't really go after because Lucky is just so obviously. I mean, he doesn't want to be there, but he knows it's his duty to be there. And like I got the sense from him that he was just like, I'm here to tell the truth because that's my job, and I will, however it helps. If it helps, Karen Reed, I'm going to tell the truth. If it helps the Commonwealth, I'm going to tell the truth. I don't want fame. I don't want anything. I just want to go back and being, and just be,
he just wants Lucky to plow the roads. He just that's all I take from him. He loves his job. He loves Canton. He just wants to plow the roads. Let Lucky plow. That's what I say. But Hank tried to make it seem like Lucky was some fortune and fame seeking grifter when he's like, aha, here's a picture with you with Rita Lombardi outside of the courthouse after she asked you to take a picture. And what is he supposed to say? No, I can't take a picture because what if there's a mistrial and then Hank Brennan uses this picture against me moving forward? It's like, was he supposed to be rude? Somebody has to take a picture with him? Like, he's supposed to be like, no, I can't take a picture with you. Like, are you kidding me? And there was a lot of that going around. Like, I met Dr. Wolf in, everybody likes Dr. Wolf. I don't think he likes me. So I'm in the hallway and
Which wolf? With an E or
with an E, yeah,
yeah.
not know it all wolf, the other wolf, Crash Daddy. And so I'm like, I go up to him and I said, hey, Dr. Wolf, Dr. Turtleboy here. As one fellow to it, that's kind of my shtick. I'm like, as one fellow doctor to another, nice to meet you. And like, I make it lighthearted. I go to shake hands. He did not want to shake my hand. And it's not like it was offensive to him or anything like that. But you can tell the guy's just fucked up because it's like, dude, any association with you people is going to get me in trouble. Like they're talking about my wife joined a Facebook group and dragging her into that. Like, he just seemed shell shocked by the whole thing. And it was sad. He like walked down the street by himself to get lunch, like by himself during the lunch break. And like everybody's taking pictures of him. And like, and it's like, whoa, but it was just sad. He was so cognizant of it. Now, Dr. La Posada I introduced myself to her in the same way, and Rentschler, and they seemed a little bit, they were more into it, and Dr. Russell as well. But it was just sad to see Dr. Wolf was kind of like fucked up from the way Hank treated him.
Yeah, I mean, I have heard that they don't want to do any sort of interviews. They don't want to have any discussion, like, and I get it, right? They're just like, hey, we never wanted this, right? We never wanted this to be, It's, I feel bad for all the people who just, kind of want to avoid all of this. So, it's like I wish I had a way to sort of help Lucky out because he's such a sweetheart, and he made it very clear. He's like, all I just want is for people to leave me alone after this.
Exactly. He
He's
just
like,
and when I talked to him, it was the same way. Like, he was like, his biggest worry was losing his job because they had created like an atmosphere of fear in the DPW. There had been a memorandum sent out saying, don't talk to anyone in the media. Right. And so like when I talked to Lucky, I had like a 5-minute interview with him, conversation. And I don't know if he thought I wasn't going to talk about it or not. Like nothing was off the record or anything like that. But then I talked about it, and Lucky called me back later that night in like I would call it a state of panic. And he was like, you got to take it down. You got no, I'm going to lose my job. It was really sad. He was like, I'm going to lose my job over this. And they had just created this atmosphere of fear that like, if you tell the truth, if you talk about what happened, if you don't cover this up, if then you're going to lose everything. And so I made a big stink on my show. I'm like, leave Lucky alone. I had this whole rant about it. Like, leave Lucky alone. We are going to back this mofo up no matter what. Like, you're not going to touch him. We're not going to allow you guys to touch Lucky Lochran. And I think he felt safe. And I contacted Michael Trotta, his boss, who assured me that like, no, Lucky will not face any, because I told Lucky, I'm like, I'll talk to your bosses. I talked to his bosses. They're like, no. I'm like, Lucky is worried he's going to get fired. Are you guys threatening to fire him for this? And they were like, no, we love Lucky. Like, Lucky's a great worker and blah, blah. So I just kind of assuaged his fears, and he felt more comfortable after that, I think. And so it's just ironic that Hank kind of accused me of intimidating him when he was on the stand.
I could tell you that if they fired Lucky over this, I'd be like, all right, it is time for like a letter writing campaign.
Yeah.
Sorry, we absolutely need like Lucky. You can't mess with him.
Yeah.
He's
hands off Lucky. I mean, that was my rant because I'm like, I'm not putting up. It was a real atmosphere of fear in that town when I first started investigating this whole thing, like people were scared to, I mean, it was like mafia stuff. And I'm like, what? And I'm like, we're scared of the guy that owns a pizza shop. I mean, these guys make shitty pizza in a small town. This is not the, El Castra Nostra, whatever the heck this is. Like, this is not, stop it. They're not that powerful. Like, they were captains of a high school football team 35 years ago. They're not that tough. Like, all you have to do is stand up to them. And so I did stand up to the bullies. And for that, the punishment is you go to jail. Like, you get arrested for that now. Like, you're not allowed to stand up to the bullies because the bullies' friends are now all the police. And like, they all know each other, and they've gone back forever. And I think one of the most disturbing parts about this for me is that every single cop in the Norfolk DA's office is cool with this. There isn't a single Nicholas Barros in there. Like, and I'm not so convinced that they all think that Karen Reed is guilty, other than they are just like, we back each other up. That's what we do. Like, I'm not, no. Like, this Nicholas Garino and like even some of those guys on the stand that we saw for the first time, like Evan Brent, and I forget some of the other ones. There's like 3 new ones I'd never seen before. And I'm like, they all work in the Norfolk County DA's office. If any of those guys believes that Karen Reed might be not guilty, they keep that thought to themselves. They don't ever dare vocalize that. And that's a culture of fear and intimidation, which is just ironic because that's what they're charging me with.
I am reminded of, I had a case where this guy is being escorted out of a mall, and as soon as he ends up in this little, because like malls have cameras everywhere, right? But there are a few little gaps, and there's just this little gap that exists right between these, in this one spot. And of course, the cops know that. And so as soon as this guy who's being marched out goes into that gap, he gets the shit kicked out of him. And the one officer is like, he was getting away. He was about to fight us. He was all of these things, right? And, but they have like 6 cops and like 8 security guards marching this guy out. It's like this army. And the one person, Zora's got opinions. The one person there is like, he was going to attack me. He was going to whatever. And every other officer and security guard is like, I didn't see anything.
Mm-hmm.
And I go, sure you didn't.
Sure, yeah,
right?
No.
Sure you didn't. And that's kind of how, like, everybody says, is it so it's so impossible for there to be a conspiracy. And I go, you don't understand the framework for police officers shielding police officers exists before the police, before anything happens.
Right. It's exactly. That's exactly how it is. It's like, it's not like Nicholas Garino and Brian Tully suddenly decided that they were going to frame Karen Reed. It's that Michael Proctor planted some taillight, right? And his bosses just refuse to believe that they live in a world where their coworkers are actually the bad guys. And they're like, no, it can't be. No. It's just much easier for them to go along with the people who they know, who they work with, whose backs they've had, and vice versa over the years. And it's just easier for them all to go along with that. And they're like, no, fuck, that's not a conspiracy. Don't be ridiculous. When Karen Reed was arrested the second time, and after she was indicted in June, and she's on film in the Milton State Police Barracks, and she says to them, we're all in on the same joke, right? Like, the way she says that was like old Karen Reed. That's like naive Karen Reed, who still believes that, like, you guys know this is like, there's still a chance like she could convince them, right? That this is bullshit, right? You guys know this, we're all in the same joke, right? We're getting punked together, right? It's like she hadn't truly grasped what she was up against, I think, in that video.
Yeah, she hadn't really figured out that there is no way to talk them out of it, because
right. Exactly.
So yeah, I feel really bad for her. And we haven't really seen a whole lot of her publicly, but she seems like she seems like a decent person. It's just how do you? I'm surprised she's like got the strength to keep going. Right, that
Yeah.
takes a tremendous amount of.
She's definitely pretty grizzled, I'd say, like a tough cookie, you got to be mentally tough to deal with that. But guess what? I don't care if she's the worst person on earth. Like she could be like a horrible person. I'm still going to say she's not guilty because that's what the facts are. And it's Karen Reed is an interchangeable part in all this, right? To me, this has never been about Karen Reed at all. This has been about John O'Keefe and the McAlberts, right?
Yeah.
And the people in law enforcement who protect him and are not getting justice for John O'Keefe. Karen Reed is just a interchangeable name who had the bad luck of dropping this guy off at a party and he never came home. Right. That's it. So this I think there's this thing with the Karen Reed people where we all want Karen to be this great person and whatever. And I just want people to just like brace yourself. Like it's okay if she's shitty too. You know what I mean? It's okay if she's great, but it's also okay if she's shitty. It doesn't change a goddamn thing. Like we shouldn't have this kind of like cult of personality, with the person where they have to be a good person for us to have them back.
I had a lot of people doing that over like the Higgins stuff, and they're like, "Oh, well, if she's trying to get with Higgy, that means she's a terrible person." And I'm like, "Okay, but not really." Like,
Yeah.
like people, people cheat, people flirt, people all of these things, and and they're like, "Oh, she had these angry texts, and angry messages with John O'Keefe." And I go, "Well, first of all, I do criminal defense. I've seen far worse in relationships where there was no abuse whatsoever. But second of all, I mean, the angry messages, the angry voicemails just do more to convince me that she didn't kill him than that she did."
100%. Makes no sense. Those voicemails make no sense in the context of a murder. They don't.
It's like, I've just killed you. I'm going to leave a whole bunch of angry voicemails accusing you of cheating on me right now.
Just so they can use it against me at trial. Just because I'm that devious. I'm that dastardly.
I mean, you wouldn't be saying, "Hey, are you sleeping with some other woman right now?" if you thought you killed him.
Right. Those aren't the kind of messages you leave if you think someone's dead. Those are the kind of messages you leave if you can't wait to see him again to ream his ass out and give him a piece of your mind. Like that's what those are.
Well, and it seems like she's like, "I am pissed off. I'm stuck here with your kids.
Yeah.
While you're sleeping around. Get back here, you jackass!
I am gonna
take care of the kids.
I am gonna be the biggest cunt to you when I see you again, and I am gonna see you again." Like that's what those voicemails to anyone. They make no sense in the context of her killing him. How do they explain that? Like some of the things that these people bring up about that she said, like, John, everyone thinks that no one knows where you are. They always use that one. They're like, "Oh, that's pretty incriminating." How is that incriminating? That's the best you have is you've misinterpreted some things she said and turned it into something nefarious. That's all they have. But I've said it before and I'll say it again on my show before. And I've said this, that like, I think that the biggest obstacle Karen Reed has is Karen Reed herself, right? Like she's not Jennifer McCabe. She's the exact opposite of Jennifer McCabe. Jennifer McCabe is a crowd pleaser, and she knows how to win over a room and get people on her side. Karen Reed doesn't know how to do that. We saw in the morning there, like her leaving abruptly One Meadows Ave and then not returning phone calls and text messages from people like Carl Dugall and other friends of John O'Keefe, right? When you read their messages, like they were willing to give her a chance. They were like, "Hey, Karen, like just making sure you're okay, just checking in on you, blah, blah, blah." If she had gotten back to Carl and said, "Thank you so much, Carl. I really appreciate that. Like, I'm so sad right now." But Carl Dugall might have been free Karen Reed. But instead, because she didn't get back to him, as unfair as it is and stupid as it is on Carl's part, he's just like, "Well, she's guilty." You know what I mean? She doesn't have the people skills that Jennifer McCabe has, and I think that hurt her.
I mean, I get that because, I get friends who are like, "Why are you pissed at me?" And I'm like, I'm not pissed at you. And they're like, "Well, you haven't texted me and whatever." I'm like, I have attention deficit. I forget to do those things, right? Like I just,
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know how to do all that. And so, it's just, sorry, like that's not how that, how that goes. But, I, I sort of get the sense that she just never fit into that group. And so it was really easy for them to, to demonize her.
Yeah. I mean, it was a PR campaign from 6 a.m. that morning for Jen McCabe on. It was one of the greatest PR campaigns of all time. Like and her phone records tell everything. When you see how many times she spoke with Kerry Roberts on the phone, with Peggy O'Keefe on the phone, it was calling Michael Lank at 9:00. And you see her on the dash cam video talking to Sarah, like moving her arm around, like blah, blah, blah. She's not shutting up on there. It's like it was one gigantic PR campaign the whole time. The only one who's acting authentic is Karen Reed, and then they use her authenticity against her, right? By saying like, "Oh, she was screaming and yelling like a crazy person." It's like, yeah, because her boyfriend's missing, or then she found him dead. See, how do you expect her to react? Like, what do you think she's going to be like? Everything's like, "Oh, there's a man in the snow." I think that's a little bit more suspicious.
Yeah, the man in the snow thing was like, because I gotta say, like, if I found a friend of mine, and especially if I found a friend of mine who was a police officer, like in the snow, you'd better believe I'd be like, there is, a police officer so and so is down, because that the response time for officer down is literally how far does that pedal actually go down, and not like, they don't stop for donuts on the way to,
They're not Julie Albert. They'll be there right away. No donut stops.
So, I mean, I was just stunned at, and they're like, "Oh, well, her calls." I'm like, what about, what about the other calls, right? What about the other, it baffles me, right? And then, why wouldn't you go to the house? Why wouldn't you go and knock at the door and be like, help, we need help here?
Well, she had to Google how long to die in cold at 6:24, don't you know? Like she had Karen asked her to do so she had to stop everything she was doing and Google that for Karen Reed, because Karen couldn't do that herself apparently, or ask any of the paramedics there. So she alone had to do that, and she went in the house 10 minutes later and woke them up without the dog being there or barking at all, because that's a thing that makes lots of sense. It's just the things that you have to. I was sold on this story from day one when I read it, just because of the overwhelming amount of things that you'd have to believe to think that Karen Reed did this. Like, it's just freaking crazy the amount of shit that you'd have to believe actually happened.
I mean, I started out knowing nothing about this, right? Like the first trial, just getting hooked by Yanetti's intro, and I was going, okay, we're going to cover this, and it's going to be like a hilarious lawyer fail, and that's going to be, and that's like, I kind of figured the angle would be, this is funny, right? Like he's overpromised. And then I was like, no, this guy he's delivering on this. Like,
it's so funny seeing that reaction from people like you and others, because it's like, because I was knee deep in this world for so long, and I knew how crazy it was, and I knew like, oh yeah, when you guys are going to see when this trial starts, it's actually exactly how we told you it was, but crazier, but actually crazier, because I didn't even know about like the butt dials and the text messages. I wasn't even working with that sort of information. I was just working on the basics that like he lied about what time he towed the car, and he actually he's got Facebook pictures with these people, and Colin was the ring bearer in the wedding. Like that's what I was working with. I didn't even know about all these text messages. Like that's even crazier.
I had people in my chat, and it was funny because they were pissed off at me, because I'd be like, okay, this evidence doesn't look great for Karen Reed because, they'd have something on direct and it'd be like, yeah, this doesn't look great. And then cross had happened. And I'd be like, okay, that witness just got murdered. Like, that witness just blew up. And I was like, but they were getting pissed at me and they're like, don't you know this witness is, don't you know that this witness is like whatever, like completely bullshit? And I'm going, no, I don't know that. I'm covering this, right? And you know, they're like, how do you not know this, future detail? I'm like, it's not in evidence yet. And it's like, oh, right, they're completely contradicted by everything we know. It's such a
Yeah.
weird trial, and I mean, um,
Some of
I
the some
hope
of
that when they do the movie that they'll have like a sort of recognition for the role you played in all of this. Um, who do you think they should cast for you?
$1 million question right there. I don't. Everybody, Jeremy Renner. I'm a big fan of his, and a lot of people say that one, but I don't care. It's like the movie that they're creating. So, I already signed a deal with a company called Compelling Pictures almost a year ago, and they've they're the angle that they're taking with the movie is kind of like I'm the main character. It's like kind of like the Karen Reed story. It's like a spotlight kind of story, like the
Right.
Karen Reed story through my eyes or whatever, and like how it evolved and stuff. Because it is a more, I mean, I'm a little biased because I'm me, but like it is a more interesting retelling of the story when you do it through my eyes. And you're like, well, this guy started writing about it, and then they arrested him. Like it's crazy, like how this all came together, and the story blew up, and all this. And whereas Karen Reed is just kind of like, the subject of my reporting. Like she wouldn't even be like the main character in the movie. The doc that she came out was kind of the Karen Reed trial through her eyes. And so now we're gonna do one through my eyes, and that's cool too because you can see it through multiple lenses.
I mean, I think both sort of angles of telling have a lot of merit to it. Because I mean, if they're telling it through Karen Reed's eyes, they're probably not going to focus as much on like you getting arrested, you getting,
Right.
all of these things, and those are stories that are worth telling, and similarly, vice versa. So, I mean, I can say I will watch both because, yeah, I'm
Because you
seeing
can,
Aaron Paul
because
is not a bad choice.
Aaron, that's the first time I'm hearing that. Science, bitches. I don't know.
I was
Yeah,
thinking Edward Norton would be a good choice, but
I could see that. I love, Bradley Cooper is one of my favorites. Christian Bale, but whatever, whoever, I don't really care. Either way, it's gonna be fucking cool to be like, there's a goddamn movie about me. Like that's gonna be based when that happens. I never, again, when I was teaching high school history, they weren't planning on making any movies about me. They should have, but they didn't. So, it's gonna be pretty cool either way.
have you run into students who have, followed you because of that?
Oh yeah, like a bunch. Like at the outside of court, there's a bunch of them there. Like Mr. Carney. It's like oh shit, it's you. What's going on? Take pictures with them. It's a lot of them follow this still. And it's like sometimes I'll see it in the comment section. And I think I was reading the comments on Breaking Points the other day. I did an interview with Ryan Grimm, and like one guy, this kid Tim, is in the comments, and he's like, oh my God, that's my history teacher. Like, what the fuck is he doing? Yeah, this happened. Like, Jesus Christ, and it's just kind of funny seeing that. It's just like worlds colliding.
It's, I'm guessing there's probably some students who are just like, man, I never expected you'd be cool.
Well, I was always like, I mean, I was not like the cool teacher. Like, you don't want to be the cool teacher. That means you let him get away with shit. It means you're not a good
Yeah.
teacher if you're the cool teacher. So, but they never saw like the inappropriate side of me, like the language that I use now. I never talk like this in school or anything like that. But I think definitely like my loudness and my passion, they saw that every day. So it's, some of my personality traits came out in the classroom.
Yeah. I mean, you've got to sort of play to, you know, I'll swear on like a live stream, you can't do it in court.
No,
Kind of thing.
no. And I'm different. Like when I come on your stream or when I do any of these interviews, I'm very different from when I go on my show. Like when I'm on, when it's just me on there, that's when it's like unfiltered and I say whatever the hell I want to say. And, I'm entertaining the crowd and that's what I'm doing. Whereas like I come on here, I'm like actually trying to seem presentable and respectable. So I'm trying not to use the word. I've only used the word cunt twice this whole show. And that's good for me. So working on it.
We're probably demonetized. It's not a
Oh,
worry.
so
And
I I don't worry about. I haven't been monetized in years. You feel it's actually a good feeling because you're like, oh, I can say whatever I want now, but you don't get the super chats. But it's actually a blessing because they take 30%. They take those crooks.
yeah, I don't worry about it too much. I don't
Yeah.
actually turn monetization on until after a stream runs because if somebody's here checking it out now, I don't want them. What I hate is that the advertising starts to desync the audience.
Mm-hmm.
And so some people saw like a 2-minute ad and now they're 2 minutes behind, or
Oh
uh,
yeah.
I'm just like, yeah, okay. No. So, but I'll turn it on afterwards and then YouTube will be like, no, somebody used a bad word. So you
Or
can't
if
do
God
that.
forbid you played any music for like
Oh,
30 seconds, that's how you lose it automatically.
the one that was funny was, uh, what is it? The first of the Rust trials, Hannah Gutierrez Reed, during her sentencing, one of the family members played a music clip, and everybody got killed by that, and because of course it got a copyright claim if you ran that music clip, even though it was from the court proceedings, and so all the people who are live streaming, they got their streams taken down.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was doing recaps, so I knew it was coming, and I was like, "And we're hitting mute now." And people are like, "Why?" I'm like, "Because this musical, I
Yeah.
will get nuked."
Buzzkill.
And
But yeah, I haven't had to worry about that in years, and it's a liberating feeling.
have somebody saying I'm leaving money on the table. That is pretty much what I do. Like that is,
But it's the super chats where they get your money. Like all this, if you add that up, don't add it all up because you're going to be depressed and be like, holy shit, YouTube took all this. You can YouTube lets you have a Venmo and they let you like have your Cash App or I have Turtle Chats or whatever. You just have it on there and you just get to keep all the money. I can't believe YouTube allows me to do it. I don't know why they do, but I'll take it.
I mean, the thing is that a lot of people still. I've got a PayPal. I suppose I should like push the PayPal more. It's just,
You should. But people
but
don't get to have the cool colors. That's what people really want. These cheap fucks out here, they don't care about your bottom line. They're like, oh, I demand the world to see that I paid money for this. I want that. I want my moment on here. You know,
I mean,
that's why they do it.
I appreciate it, and I don't mind when people are supporting, but it is also useful when you've got trolls, because I've had trolls come in and it's like, all right, troll, you need to pay the troll toll. Like if I don't see a super chat, you're gone, and they're like, because and to their credit, one of them stepped up and he's like, all right, I'm gonna troll you with like $5 super chats, and I was like, all right, there you go.
I'll take it. Yeah, there you go. Well, they let you do like $1.99 on here. I've seen super chats for that low. So whatever works. You got to grift. If you grift a little, grift a lot. Grifting's grifting.
I'm just bad at it, and it's funny because there's all like that's the number one criticism is people are like, you're a grifter, and I'm like,
Ask Betero about. Betero has embraced that. Betero's like the only. He's like the biggest draw ever. Like if you have Betero on your stream, you are like guaranteed ratings. Like if I'm having my show
oh, because
and
he's
like
fantastic.
and he's on the Young Jerks, I'm like, well, no one's gonna watch my show. Like I'm fucked. So like, but yet he is the one guy. Like if he had his own channel, he would be the grifting god. But yet he doesn't. He just likes talking about this shit out of the genuine love of the law. It's remarkable.
And that's the thing is, well, and he for a bit had a thing where he didn't want to be on if people were paying to talk to him, and I mean, fair enough, right?
Yeah.
So, um, I I got tremendous regard for Betero. He's fantastic. And you're right. He just he pulls people in because he's just wonderful to listen to. So here's
I
hoping
had to
the judge
hire him.
agrees.
I watched him so much. I'm like, why is this guy not my lawyer? I'm like, I needed a second lawyer because there was just too much to my, my case. I'm like, we need more, like he can't do this alone. And so we're like, we need another lawyer. And I'm like, well, I was researching lawyers in Massachusetts to hire, and we had discussed bringing on, a female attorney to because like the Jennifer McCabe and Elizabeth Proctor aspect, we want a woman attorney, whatever. And I'm like, you know what? In my case, I need someone on the internet. I need someone who lives on the internet because I live on the internet and my charges are all from the internet. So if you're not on the internet, you don't really get it. And so this guy gets it. And I'm like, I wouldn't have to catch him up on much, I feel like. And so that's what it's like. And it's been one of the best decisions I ever made bringing Breto on. I'm very lucky.
Oh, he's fantastic.
Yeah.
100%. So, yeah, he's, I'm tremendously impressed by every time I see his commentary, and we don't always agree. And, that is one of the wonderful things there is that we disagree sometimes. And I'm just like, I really need to listen whenever we disagree because I want to hear what he has to say because he's one of those people who changes my mind a lot of the time. Like I'll go and say, oh yeah, this was a good strategy. And he's like, I don't think that was. And he's like, let me make my point. And I go, shit, he's right.
Yeah. And that's why he would have been a huge asset to the Karen Reed defense team. And like not letting him on by Bev she did a lot of really biased, some would say even corrupt things, but not letting Beto on the team was one of the worst, most egregious things that she did because everyone should be allowed to choose their lawyer. And her reasoning for not allowing him on, which Brennan didn't even technically oppose, is that he's representing me and therefore you can't represent her too. I mean, it was absolutely absurd. And he brings a different perspective. Like he was the one who was most against Karen doing the interviews and Karen taking the stand. Like he was adamantly opposed to Karen ever taking the stand. Conversely, he's also in favor. He was like a loud proponent of bringing Higgins and Michael Proctor on as witnesses, which the defense ultimately didn't do. So it is good to have a different perspective in there on the team, especially when it's like, adversarial to your other attorneys, because you want to hear this. You want to, hear different minds talk about this stuff.
Oh, I mean, I would, I'm just sort of thinking about this. Like we're never going to hear about a lot of the stuff that happened in those rooms. But like, if I had a time machine, I would just be wanting to go back and just sit and listen to some of those strategy discussions and the brainstorming about, do we call, Proctor or not?
Mm-hmm.
I gotta say, I was like, my mind was changed on that by a couple of things. First, watching Hank deal with Deaver and thinking, how would he do the same thing with
what do you mean?
Deaver? He was basically feeding her a story in questions.
Uh-huh.
So he'd be like, isn't it the case that, and he'd give her a whole story and she'd go, yes. Because, he's getting to cross-examine basically what should have been his witness.
Yeah, that makes sense.
If they have Proctor there, Proctor is gonna, he's gonna be obnoxious, but Brennan gets to feed him all the excuses. And then he goes, yeah, okay.
Isn't it true that looking for nudes is an ongoing joke amongst you and your friends, and that you guys are actually all gay, so you're not actually looking for nudes? Isn't it
exactly?
I guess I could see that. Yeah. It's funny because before the defense went up, I spoke with Karen. I didn't talk to her that much during the trial because they were just so busy, but I did talk to her one time on the phone, and she asked me, do you think we should call Proctor? And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Because I'm like, you guys, wait a minute. I go, you guys are debating that? You guys are actually debating that? I didn't know that was up for debate. And so I'm like, you're asking me this? And she's like, yeah, I actually like to hear your opinion. I like to hear different opinions on this. I'm like, well, yeah. I'm like, I'm 100% pro that. But as it turns out, I'm not actually a lawyer. I'm a doctor. So I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. And I'm just in this for the entertainment. And that would have been awesome to watch.
I go, well, the other thing is I was worried that they might actually think that he was dead, like Proctor.
Yes, you did say that a few times. Yeah, that they were worried he's dead. I mean, it made sense. It's an interesting theory.
Well, Buchanan actually says, like, we have two officers because what if one of them, like, dies? And I'm going, are they hinting that Proctor's dead? Like, they're like, Proctor's not dead, just his career is.
Yeah. Yeah, although did they say he was fired? They did say he was fired though in the opening.
They did manage to get that out. I don't think it was out at the time.
Though, I suppose. Be
I don't
fired
think it was
first.
out at the time initially, but yeah.
Yeah. Because you lose your job, maybe he committed suicide, maybe something like that. Maybe that's what they were getting the jury to believe. But either way, Proctor was like the boogeyman. And another thing I asked Karen about was the Higgins thing. I'm like, why don't you guys call Higgins? I'm like, how have you not called him yet? And her basic answer was like, we like the way Higgins appears now. We like Matthew Farwell Higgins, like the guy that's lurking around with the hoodie on, acting suspicious, moving duffel bags. They haven't met the decorated dude. They haven't met the guy that puts the suit on and comes in the stand and says, I never lie. They haven't met that guy.
They haven't met, like, they see hoodie weirdo and they don't see, like, pathetic, sad
Yeah,
Higgins.
they did not see that Higgins. Mr. ATF with the parted hair coming on there in the suit and talking about, oh, serious, it was a VT. They don't, why give them a chance to rehabilitate themselves when in the eyes of the jury right now, they're this like mysterious, shady guy walking around trying to bang John's girlfriend and moving duffel bags at 2 a.m.
I just, I don't know. I think that with a younger audience, Higgins might have actually seemed even more creepy in person. Because, like, I look at Higgins and he just kind of reeks incel, right?
He does. He does.
And I feel like there's a lot of women who look at a guy like Higgins and those texts and all of that, and they can easily like picture, like they can easily just be thinking, okay, so you're sitting there working at like the Starbucks or whatever, and there's a guy comes in and, he says something, he cracks some joke and you smile politely, and then suddenly he's in there every day, right? And he's like, and suddenly the guy's like showing up outside your house and like, he's got this whole idea of like how you're gonna, and I feel like a lot of women, especially younger women, have had this experience and might actually find like Higgins to be very threatening. Because, if you've had, for the women who've ever dealt with that guy, they never want to deal with that guy again, right? And I don't know. I just
yeah, that guy just creeps him out. Like, but like these people like Higgins have seen one too many like teen movies, like that. I don't know if you ever saw the movie Can't Hardly Wait with Jennifer Love Hewitt.
I haven't seen that one.
Yeah,
but,
it's like a typical movie where it's like the nice shy guy, right, who's in love with coincidentally the amazingly hot girl with huge tits, right? But he's the nice guy who's not, big jock or whatever like that. But she's into the jock, right? But like if only she knew what a nice, down to earth guy they was. And then in the end, she does find this out and they get together, whatever. It's like, that's not how real life actually works. But people like Higgins have grown up watching movies like that. So they think that it is, right? And it's like those messages just reeked, like you said, of just incel. It's like, dude, are you going to go for this or not? Like, I can't I can't read anymore. I don't know how many times she has to affirm to you that you are in fact hot. You're not hearing that. Like, that wasn't a mistake. She wrote that. Like, you don't have to ask her again. Okay.
She
Just
was
go
sitting
for it,
there with
bro.
like the airline, like the light sticks, basically going, "Come over," and he's like, "But are you going to love me forever?" And she's
Yeah.
like, "It's not about forever. It's about the next half an hour, right?"
Yeah. Yeah.
And he doesn't get that. Like she clearly sets out what she's interested in, and he's like, "But this has to be happily ever after." And it's like, that is creepy and weird and off-putting, and you can see in her texts over time as she just is like, "Nope, big mistake. Thought this guy was hot, and whoo, no."
Ooh, that's that
Like,
was, don't know what I was thinking there. It
well,
lasted a week. Their whole texting relationship lasted a week. Like, when you get down to it, and that's all she needed to hear to say, "Okay, that's enough higgy for me. I am getting back. I'm staying with John because this guy, at least John's not this insecure."
I'm including the time it takes him to drive there and back.
That guy can't do any physical activity for half an hour. Forget about it.
It's just like, I. But the guy is, and he is creepy. He is weird. He is, you know, he's off-putting in a way that actually reeks of dangerousness, right? That actually says this guy is, forming an attachment that is dangerous, because sometimes you need to know that, like, we done here.
Yeah. Like, this behavior that night, the last time they spoke, I think, was January 23rd. So they hadn't spoken in like 5 days, no text messages, nothing. And then, she shows up to the bar with John O'Keefe, and they're all lovey dovey. And he greets John when he gets there, like 10:55 or whatever. All right. And then it's just interesting that the well text comes at 11:30, right? So that means he's sitting there and he's like, this isn't like, he's watching John and her be all affectionate, but he knows from his previous conversations with her that she's not really that happy with him. And wouldn't she be happier with me? I'm the nice guy. I deserve the girl. We had heart to hearts. You don't really like him. He's distant. He's not getting back to you. He takes you for granted. Don't you know that you really and you can just tell, because he waits 35 minutes before the well text comes in, because he's just growing angrier and angrier watching them be affectionate, as Karina Kolakithis described it, at the bar. And he's sitting there, he's like, and I'm going home I'm going to play grab ass with Brian Albert for a bit, and then maybe I'll have a hot pocket, and then I'll crash out like I do every night alone, and I'll wake up tomorrow alone. And God damn it, that's not fair, because I'm the nice guy. I'm Higgins. I'm the nice guy. I'm supposed to get the girl. John O'Keefe's not supposed to get the girl. I'm supposed to get the girl.
A lot of guys have been sort of, and I mean, it starts even with like, Disney shit, right? Where you get like, sorry, but the world doesn't always work out that the nice guy, ends up with the girl. And the other problem is, a lot of these guys think they're the nice guy, and they're actually pieces of shit. Like,
Yeah.
it's
like, sorry, Aladdin, you're actually a criminal and poor. So I'm not going to be with you. Get the fuck out of here. I don't care how many genies you got. You're poor and you need to get a job. You street rat. You have no health insurance either. Get out of here.
I mean, the thing is Aladdin actually has a decent personality. A lot more of them are like, what is it? Deacon Frollo from, Hunchback of Notre Dame. Creepy, obsessed, they think they're the right guy, and that they're actually just horrible people, right? And they've just been so buried in like angst and you know and bitterness for so long that they just are shitty people, right? And they're sitting there waiting for the universe to serve up a to serve up like the perfect woman, and that's not how it goes. I had this talk with a friend of mine, and he's like, I'm the Mrs. Right is out there for me, and I was like, okay, um what do you bring to the
I was
table?
gonna say, why do you deserve Mrs. Right? Of all the men in the world, why should you get her? What's so
So
fucking special about you?
you encounter this woman who's brilliant and attractive and all of this, and it's like, cool, why does she want you and not any of the other people out there? And it's like, well, you gotta actually. So I mean, Higgy doesn't seem to have actually gotten over that at this point. He just seems to have like, I don't know. I actually wonder if there's a real possibility out there that that he sends her a text at some point, just going, so, and I
No way.
suspect
You mean now? Still no fucking way now. Absolutely not.
I could
No.
see it.
Oh God, no. He tried to send her to jail.
I
That's a
could still
deal
see it.
killer. That's got to be a deal killer. He tried to
Oh,
send her
I
to jail
mean,
for life.
he's got as much chance with like Karen Reed as like I'm trying to think of a proper analogy. Um I guess of like anybody alive currently having a chance of like, dating Audrey Hepburn in her 20s. Like it's just not possible. The universe does not allow for this possibility because, that ship sailed. It's
It
not like,
must be really hard for Brian Higgins, and I guess there's no one else really comparable with him in the McAlberts to get laid nowadays. Like that must be much harder than it was before because now you are famous now for like you when you go out, they're gonna be like, oh, there's the insecure incel that tried the fat guy that thought Karen Reed was in love with him. Let's laugh at him. Like and everywhere he go, like before he was just the fat guy with who thought he had confidence but didn't really have confidence. Mostly wanted to talk about his job. He always talked about his job. Like he always just fell back on that. Like I'm ATF. I'm ATF. Did I tell you I'm ATF? That was probably his entire identity. There's a reason the first thing he mentions on the JFK show is his decorations. I'm a decorated dude. Like that's all he's got going for him because he's lacking, with the personality. So when Brian Higgins, I mean, that guy must. I can't imagine he got laid a lot before Karen Reed, but I would imagine it's a lot harder now.
I'll push back. I bet he could get laid in the next hour. He just has to send the text to the right person, and that right person is
Julie Carpenter. Julie Carpenter. Her name's. He's got to fly to Indiana.
So I mean, but yeah, I mean, Higgins as the creepy off-screen weirdo also works. So I get it. I mean, and I guess part of this is just what you said. Like we're all saying this is brilliant strategy because it worked.
Yes.
And that's
we'd be having an entirely different conversation right now. Everything would have changed. Everything would have changed based on whether or not you are not guilty on count 2. Like that was the most consequential brief moment in time ever. Like as far as I'm concerned, as my life goes, like my life would be so different if she was convicted. Her life would obviously be the most affected, but that's what makes this case unique is that so many people felt like personally invested in this. Like I'm not outside those people. They might not have known Karen Reed, right? But they would have been devastated. I couldn't even imagine what would happen to that crowd if she was convicted. The crime, I don't even know what they would do, but it would be the saddest place on earth or the happiest place. It turned out to be the happiest place ever. Like being there was the greatest feeling ever, but it also could have been the worst feeling ever. And it's just that emotional roller coaster of like, there's no neutral ground. There's no walking out of there being like, except for a mistrial, of course. But like, there was no wait when you're a verdict in, you're like, holy fuck, everything's about to change.
I mean, that verdict landed like a bomb. And if you're ever feeling sad, if you're ever feeling like down, just go back and watch like the Yellow Cottage Tales stream where the verdict lands.
Oh, it's a great feeling.
And you can see Coffin Dapper just hits leave stream.
Well, not before she says that the jury was rigged. She said the jury was rigged before they met, Paula, and before Grant could pull up all her father-in-law's immigration records, whatever the hell they've dug up on the poor woman, or anything like that. The sadly, the voice of reason on that stream was Plevin himself. When he suggested, when they were like, the jury's rigged, he's like, guys, there's 12-0. Like, I can understand one. If you want to say there's one plant, I'm game for that. But how does one plant convince 11 non-plants to go along with this? Like, sorry, guys, that's a bridge too far even for me.
He actually has some comments on that I gave some regard, like that I had some regard for, because he was like, guys, maybe we like he said something along the lines of, we maybe misassessed this if the jury was that. Now, I'm sure he's talked himself back into, it was, whatever, because that's just how people are. But I was just like, and it's funny because all through the trial, they were like, Brennan is this master everything, right? And to be fair, Brennan is a good lawyer. He's just not a good person, or at least, so I wouldn't, if I had him as my lawyer, I wouldn't be upset if he was a defense, acting as a defense lawyer. But they were like going on about he's masterful, he's whatever. And then they're like, there were 12 plants, or was it Julie, was it Carpenter who was saying like, or no, it was Wendy Murphy, I think it was, who was like, they need to screen for mental illness on the.
That was Wendy, yeah. That was Wendy.
And I went,
that's the crazy lady.
So you think Brennan, this who you've been talking up as this masterful guy, let 12 people with mental illness onto the jury? And like, wouldn't that have been his, like, if so, that would have been his strategy, right? That's not something you do by accident.
It's like, if you really want to trip, I'm going to write a story about this. I've chronicled all of DePietro's tweets, and just go back and read his tweets during jury selection. I got one for you right here. Jury trial update. Hank Brennan is playing high-level chess with jury selection. Brennan knows who he's looking for, so there's no rush. Brennan is letting the defense deplete their strikes and removing jurors. Brennan knows this is no time to rush the process and get stuck with the jury. That becomes difficult to manage. Brennan is moving towards checkmate in the chess game of jury selection. Like, it's like, you go back and read this, it's like, bro, you have to say that was wrong now, right? Like, you have to, even if you say that the jury was rigged with plants, you have to concede that Hank picked them, right? You have to concede that he can't be a mastermind.
I am waiting for when they get around to saying that Brennan was in on it.
It might come.
Because that's the thing, is if you're going to assume, like, let's assume their theory of like the FBI is going to plant anybody. Would it be easier to get to the one defense, or the one, previous defense lawyer, now prosecutor, Brennan, or would it be easier to get to 12 jurors who you're assuming are picked by, by somebody who's got every interest in filtering them out? I
I don't know how all these FKR plants got by the brilliant Hank Brennan, but he's lost his touch. Or else I'm just so good that I got all these people to be like, here's how you trick Hank Brennan. Here's what you say to make him think that you're unbiased, but actually we are stacking the deck against him to begin with. So I guess I'm the real mastermind. Me and the dastardly Karen Reed. We're the real masterminds here.
I just the conspiracy theory, like they accuse the free Karen Reed side of being conspiracy theorists and whatever, and the theories they've been coming up with.
I know. Talk about irony. Talk about irony. It's something.
Oh, I mean, I will say I take a little bit of enjoyment out of it, and the other thing that was interesting is I had a little note of like a bunch of the accounts that were chirping at me through all of this, and like 90% of them are deleted now.
Oh, interesting.
So
I'm not finding that. I'm finding that one of the most remarkable aspects of all this is that the trolls I thought that because if Karen Reed was convicted, you would not see me on social media for a bit. I would be taking a sabbatical because I would be depressed and, quite frankly, embarrassed. I can't show my face again. I can't go. Like I'm going to get destroyed. Like it's like I've invested in this. But the trolls just came back on the next day and were like, "Nope, she's guilty." And Hank did everything great and everything. Jimmy Jams and whoever, Big Red and Mama Llama. It's like the same shit they were saying before. They're still saying now. It's like nothing's changed at all. It's remarkable.
I'm stunned because I would just be like, I mean, the thing is my whole thought was I'm going to move on, right? As soon as this is, like, I mean, I'm sort of at the point of like, Karen Reed, the trial is done. She should be able to move on. If I get like a big interview, I'll talk about it some more. And I mean, so here we are. But otherwise, it's like, okay, like she's going to go and live her life. And, if she I saw some people saying like, oh, she should become a lawyer. She should go into, whatever. And I'm like, she doesn't owe anybody shit, right? She doesn't owe anybody like, living a life of, helping people or whatever. Like if she wants to get like if she gets a big payout from like the movie deal and just decides that she wants to go and like, buy a 15-year ticket on a cruise ship with an unlimited drinks pass, like that's her call, right?
Yeah,
like
what she should do, in my opinion. Karen Reed should do whatever the fuck Karen Reed wants to do because she's earned it. You know what I mean? All the shit she's been through, it's like you've earned a right to just do whatever the fuck you want to do, in my opinion. And you don't know the world shit. That's just my thoughts,
Yep. And I mean, like she burned through all of her retirement money for this. So if it gives her enough to retire and just like, okay, we're done, then fantastic, right?
But I also wouldn't be opposed if, let's say, Karen Reed turned into my Turtleboy. Andrea Burkhart asked me who's going to be Turtleboy for Turtleboy. Wouldn't that be a cool thing if Karen Reed started showing up at my hearings to show support? I think that would send a strong message. We'll see. But again,
I mean,
you don't owe me shit.
I'd like to see it, but yeah, she doesn't owe anybody anything. It's
but it would be cool. You have to admit that would be pretty cool if Karen Reed was like in the front row of my next hearing, would it not?
It would, although even better, she walks in for trial day, like, trial and just walks it. I don't know. She might have like restrictions because of,
yeah.
Once she signs a deal, they're going to put her on she's going to be on a bit of a leash, right? The leash is going to be like you can't do these kinds of things because if you do, then we're gonna blow up your deal because like just no deal, right? So I just I don't know. It's we'll have to see what comes out. It's tough, and I mean I'm also curious. You've teased a big announcement for Saturday.
Well, I wouldn't say it's like a big announcement. It's just Alan Jackson has something he wants to say. That's the best way I would describe it. Like he's got it's good. It's gonna be more of an Alan Jackson announcement. So it's not gonna be like any bombshell information or anything like that. So don't get your hopes up, people like that. You're not gonna find out who killed John O'Keefe on Saturday night. But he has some stuff I think he wants to get off his chest and to talk about. So and just having him on is kind of like the big thing because he hasn't gone on anything yet, and I'm flattered and honored that he would consider me and without me even asking really to come on my show and be the first.
Oh, absolutely. And some people were asking, do I mean plea deal? I mean media deal, right? Oh yes, and is the motions hearing Monday streamed?
Oh, I'm sure. Yes, Canton TV will be there, and these are usually always streamed, and if not, we get the video afterwards. So
awesome. You know what sucks about the Saturday thing?
what?
I'm gonna be on a plane.
Yeah, you can sleepy.
I want to watch it so bad, and I'm gonna be probably. Well, actually, it depends on timing. I'll have to sort of track that down because
you're making enough super chats. You can purchase the Wi-Fi on the plane. You're grifting.
The problem is just what do you call it? It sucks watching things on a plane and plane Wi-Fi in Canada.
Oh, it's bad.
It's bad. I've bought it. I've tried to like watch streams, and it comes out as like stop motion. You get like one word out of it.
I've never done it, to be honest. I've never purchased Wi-Fi on a plane.
I always am. I've done it, and then I always hate it because every time I do, I pay like however much for, and it's like $40 for their stream package or whatever, and then it's like okay, this is enough to check my email, but it's not enough to actually watch anything.
Right.
So yeah, I've had that, but I really want to see the big thing. So, what time is it?
So people, 9 o'clock,
and that's PM. Yes.
9 o'clock p.m. Eastern time. Are you Mountain Time? Is that what Alberta is? Mountain Time.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. All right. That's the weird time zone. Yeah, it's like it's 2 hours behind. So that would be 7 your time then. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Just for the people who don't know, we had some confusion as to AM versus PM. So.
I woke up this morning and I'm like, ready to go. And I'm like, ready to jump on the show. And then I checked the messages and I'm like, oh, fuck. It's PM. I'm like, it does make a lot more sense. I'm like, AM. All right, whatever. This guy's an early bird. We're doing a morning show here. But we'll
if
see.
You'd said, hey, I want to do it, like, I hadn't heard back, and I was like, if you said AM, I would have gotten up. But I can tell you this interview would not be as good because I would just be like, all right, I got up at 6 for this, like big, like raccoon eyes going.
I feel you. But anyway, I got to get going, speaking of, but it's been a tremendous stream, and I really thank you for having me on.
Thank you for being here. I will stick around and sort of go through super chats. We got to do this again sometime. And honestly, like, this is not your first big break, and I'm sure it won't be your last either. So I'm going to sort of follow because, quite frankly, the next time I see you going, hey, I think I'm onto something, I'm going to be like, this.
Yes, pay attention. Yeah. Well, thanks. So, appreciate it.
Everybody, check him out. Saturday, 9 Eastern. Big, huge get. And also, you've got a defense fund, correct?
I do have a legal defense fund. You guys can just search Turtleboy Give Send Go. It'll come up right on Google. all donations are appreciated because we got a lot of work to do, and we have a hearing coming up, and Better will be here Monday, and Bradle will be here, and full steam. And now the camera's done, we can focus on mine.
Well, and I wish you sort of every bit of the same success. And quite frankly, you'd think the Commonwealth would have the sense to just drop it.
Maybe they'll come to their senses, but I won't hold my breath.
Or maybe Morrissey will resign in shame. That would be even better.
Right. Yeah. or get knocked out. I think that's going to be the option we're going to have to go with.
When he runs for re-election, I saw a survey done that said he had something like 1% support.
Oh, that's a good start. All right.
So
there you go.
Fingers crossed that they get somebody new and better in his position, and he can go on to a job that suits his skills, like being car wash attendant or
Santa Claus mall Santa Claus. I could do that.
He'd scare the children.
He would.
All right.
All right. Thanks, Ian. Have a good night. Appreciate you having me on.
Likewise. And good night. All right. That was way too much fun. We'll have to make that happen again. So yeah. All right. We're going to go through super chats. I'm going to read every one of them because thank you for sending them. Lib, thank you for being a member. Thank you for joining up. Melissa Webb, yawn. Is it 8:30 p.m. yet? It is now. Well, past. Pop Princess, hey, Turtleboy, thank you for the truth. I feel like that is a very common sentiment. Rain Man, thank you for the 20 gifted memberships. Thank you so much. In Ari Celia versus Alessi. Let's freaking go. This is the call I have. Both of an activist heart and care about speech and truth. Let's talk about pigeon business in Massachusetts and the system in general. Yep. Mispronounced name. Rob time. We had some technical difficulties. 9 Inch Nails Gal says, look at our two witty peeps on screen together. Thank you so much. Moon Dragon, you are so good at the interviews, Ian. Thank you. I will say, before this started, I had a bit of the pre-trial anxiety because it's like, ooh, this is important. So, yeah. Dr. Turtleboy was right. Thank you, Dr. Turtleboy, for all you do. Thank you. Dina Kawaji, thank you so much for the gifted membership. Journalist Jesus, get that trademark registered. That's a good point. He should. I don't know if he's got it registered, but he should. Under your scars, Turtleboy, luck from Canada. You did great. Thanks, Runkle. Thank you. Just Irish. Journalism is not a crime. And I mean, Turtleboy is really hearkening back to classic journalism. When journalists used to nowadays, police forces and politicians and so forth, they love journalists, right? They think they're their best friends. It used to be that they hated them. So yeah. Harbinger of imminent death, thank you for supporting the turtle. Free Turtleboy. Free Turtleboy indeed. Fiona W, thank you for 20 gifted memberships. Bittersweets, Turtle, I think you're amazing. We are all better for knowing you. Thank you for sharing yourself with the world. Marie in Denver, thank you. And I'm sure, Lazy L, loved the day in a pretrial hearing and the camera showed Aidan's computer with Runkle on the screen. Emotional support, Canadian. I should have asked if that was on purpose. Next time. Next time. So, yes. Melanie Schuler, Runkle and Turtleboy, a great collaboration. Free Turtleboy, yes. Queen Olive, thank you for the membership. Amy's Positive Pathways, good evening all. Thank you so much. Marvin CZ, thank you for 20 gifted memberships. Linz, I'm late, but I'm excited. 2 of my fave boys on one screen. Thank you so much. Nancy New 12, which witness statement did court surprise Turtleboy the most as he already knew a lot of the story? I think he noted that he was surprised by a lot of the texts, but yeah. Harbinger of imminent death. Which system do you think produces better judges overall? Elected judges or appointed? Both have their downsides. An untouchable judiciary was a big part of this case. I personally think appointed works better because I don't want to see, but I mean, I can see the, I don't want to see the sort of, aspects there. So yeah. Glenda Carnes, ask Dr. Turtleboy if this is a stupid question. Sham, wow. My favorite question ever Turtleboy asked was to Jen McCabe. Do you think you can outsmart Karen Reed? Jen McCabe chuckled. Question answered. Karen said it's her, me, spectacular. Karen won. Joey Jones Donnelly. Thanks, Turtleboy, for helping free Karen Reed. Great combo, Ian. He carried a lot of weight on that. Vomit Fountain, thank you for 20 gifted memberships. Much appreciated. So thank you. What is it? Lindsay YG, no compassion for the duck PTSD they're enduring. Tranquil Moments, thank you for the YouTube membership. Welcome aboard. In regarding Celia versus Alessi, small town with an almost dead guy on the lawn at a cop's house, a selectman's brother, a detective's brother across from the assistant chief. Nobody was lights and sirens, assuming it's a VIP hurt. It was weird. Ariana, the vegetarian. There's been a gag order from the second Brian was back in ID. All facts you stated, Aidan, came from the same mainstream media sources you've called corrupt. Okay. Lindsay YG, it's super creepy that the jurors' names are not kept anonymous. If I had a defendant write me a letter after being a juror on his trial, just use numbers. That would be creepy. Vomit Fountain, Runkle has been knocking it out of the park with his guests and interviews. Thanks to Dr. Turtleboy for spending time with us. I agree. Sham, wow. Aidan, you are the future of news media snarkasm. Mainstream media is handcuffed. You are one of a kind. So smart. Runkle, fellow Vancouverite, you are boss. I'm having a Vancouver meetup. If you want to join and say hi and shake hands, yeah. Ms. Vicky, I stopped following Court TV because of their clear bias. Court TV got, FBI's ice cream truck, two of my favorite YouTubers, praying for you, Turtleboy. Yes. Harbinger of imminent death. How am I supposed to take either of your opinions seriously? Neither one of you is covered in blue paint. Gen V, this script would be a B-list movie. So crazy. It's bizarre. It's like a Final Destination movie or something like that. Red LN, will you be following the Brian Walsh case? Another Massachusetts case with the same cast of characters and law enforcement endorsement. Maybe. I am behind on that one. I don't know what the next big case I follow will be. So, yeah. Byron Butterfield, I envision a movie series from the FBI's perspective along the lines of Twin Peaks. Quirky, Kyle MacLachlan is still alive. Fair. So if Brian had had the money, Karen, he wouldn't have ended up being coerced to choose life or death, witnesses of his good character having a livelihood or not. Yeah. Sham, wow. I disagree, Turtle. The easiest piece in the puzzle that fits and makes sense to the jury is Hoss Long to die in the cold. It just fits. It's hard to explain, I guess. 007TX, thank you for the membership. Jerf. Turtle plus elf equals explosion. Awesome. Jamie F. for the demonetization fund. Yeah, we're probably there. Bella Brad for you. Oh, yeah, the hot mic moment of Alan Jackson telling Alessi, I can't do this again. Just wow. Yeah, it's tough. Oliver, Turtleboy, do you ever think we'll see justice for Sandra Birchmore, who also died, in my opinion, under suspicious circumstances and related to the Kent PD? God, I hope so. Joy W, I wasn't supposed to super chat, but for the pro bono. Thank you, Joy W. Amanda Page, thank you so much for being a member. Paul Youngs, Ian, can you ask Aidan if he and Charlie LaDuff from Detroit have ever crossed paths? He reminds me of Charlie with his in-your-face style. Sorry I didn't ask that one. Tough Cookie, thank you for the 10 gifted memberships. Zach says, listen, Turtle. Lindsay YG, ducks hurt. Yes, they hurt feelings, it seems. Smurfana, Runkle, can you ask if Aidan knows if his court date will be streamed or available for us to watch? Yes, it will. There's a lot of people supporting his case for 1A. I think there's going to be a lot of people there. Scorpion, what would happen if Turtleboy was in Canada? Charges? I don't think he'd be charged. I don't think you could lay a witness intimidation charge on this or an obstruction of justice or anything like that. I think they'd just have to put up with him doing a journalism. Chloe S., should we be teaching reasonable doubt as part of 11th grade civics? I know this won't be read until after the interview. Just wanted to ask. I don't think it's a bad idea. Decline, thank you for the super sticker. Much appreciated. DB, thank you for the YouTube membership. Lindsay YG, Turtleboy is Massachusetts Edward Snowden. Asylum offered in 49 states. It's a fair comparison. Katie, Canton is closing a children's hospital this fall. Oh, that got dark. I was trying to make, yeah. Oliver says, Turtleboy, recently both judges and juries have made horrible decisions about civil rights, which would be better in a free speech case such as yours. Not sure. John Beattybot, sadly, that statute needs a conviction appeal to be declared unconstitutional. Hopefully the minimums are low. I mean, they're going to go hard if they can get a conviction. I hope that they can't. So, yeah. Lindsay YG, Rubber Ducks, you're scary. That Bert and Ernie song still haunts me. Rubber Ducky, you're the one. Makes bath time lots of fun. Can't talk about Raffy Duck song. Kayla says, the defense demos reminded me of Mythbusters. Yeah, and the prosecution demos reminded me of kindergarten. So, yeah. Yeah. Yellow Pill, for $400,000, that whole courthouse could have been outfitted with brand new AC and a projector installed in each room. Instead, y'all got blue arm paint. Yep. Laura, thank you for the super sticker. The Goodmans, thank you for the gifted membership. Kim says the gasp heard around the world. That gasp was, yeah. Callie Forsyth, thank you for the new membership. Much appreciated. Lindsay YG, why does Higgy have a snowplow? Apparently they get a lot of snow there. Zoe B, thank you for the YouTube membership. Harbinger of imminent death, spare a thought for John's kids. Yes, they've lost 2 sets of caregivers, but it would likely still have Karen if the Commonwealth didn't try to pin it on the girl. It is tragic what's happened to those kids, and it is one of my fond hopes that that everything works out for them, and that they're able to find peace and move on. Zoe B, today a Delta plane lining up for takeoff had to return to gate due to a pigeon flying around cabin. Funnier yet, it was the second pigeon found on the same plane. Pilot was funny, total pigeon business. Thank you. That is hilarious. Laura Riker, you should have a monthly show. I was so engulfed. I mean, not a bad, yeah. So Laura Riker, thank you so much. Cat in Virginia, Aidan, can you tell us how to send a turtle chat on your stream? I think he would be able to tell you that on his streams. Zoe B, Runkle hates super chats. Just ask him. Grr. What is it? Asphalt Sally for the grift. Thank you so much. Secret Labs support. The only reason to donate to the stream is to remind Ian that he's sitting wrong. Can't do that through PayPal. The thing is I suspect that they would say that I'm sitting wrong because I keep shifting, and I think that probably increases the wear on it. But yeah, Harbinger of imminent death. Dr. Turtleboy's system is superior to YouTube. Easy to use. He gets more of the money. Easy to use any name you want with no YouTube BS. I may have to send him a message and ask him how he does it. So, yeah. Judy M. Wahoo! Runkle World is a great place to be. 10 months. Thank you so much for being here. Analytical Barney AB. Free the Hot Pockets. Nikki Lewis says, great show. Thank you so much. Analytical Blarney AB says, Runkle of the Bailey. Brian Higgins has as much chance with Karen Reed as Joe Exotic does with Carol Baskins. Period. Done and done, but laughable. Yep. Analytical Barney AB. Trolls be trolling. Play him off kitty style. Yep. Tranquil Moments. I demanded the world to see I paid money to support the Runkle. Thank you so much. Luna Dewdrops. Hi, Runkle, for the Pro Bono Fund. Thank you. Vincent McCormick. Thank you so much for the super sticker there. Michelle, love you both. Thank you. Cootie Pootie Tootie. Love the Taillight Fairy shirt. Favorite shirt now. I need to get one of those. I ordered one and then I lost it. And literally lost it. I left it in a hotel. And so I need to go back and get another one. So, yeah. What is it? Melissa, thank you for the YouTube membership. Much appreciated. Cycle Boy, happy 4th. May make the government fear the people again. There's a fair bit to that. Guzma's Punctate, thank you for the super sticker. That's a great username. Yuani MH, thank you so much for becoming a member. Callie Forsyth, never realized you were from Alberta. Me too. Lethbridge here. I've been loving your coverage so much. I am hoping to do an Edmonton meetup, and Lethbridge is a long way from Edmonton, but maybe not too far. I don't know. Harbinger of imminent death. For comparison, what would be the typical punishment for the first time OUI, DUI in Canada? Usually like a couple thousand, or so 2,500 in fines. Yeah, and a driving ban and all of that. The driving ban actually ends up being the bigger deal, along with your insurance will hammer you. And yeah, equality. Sorry, can I be selfish and ask for good luck for my exam tomorrow? I've been freaking out. Equality, yes, 100%. So good luck on your exam. I know you're going to kill it. And yeah, Piney Woods Law and Crime, thank you for the 5 gifted memberships. Much appreciated. If the car didn't hit, you must have quit. Use the eagle oil on your back. I have yet to open that. I will actually do that. Does your Saturday mean no Monday fun day? I will have to see, because I have to see what my internet is like from my hotel, because I'm going to be in a hotel on Monday. So the answer to that is maybe. And Against the Tide says, please like to help Ian reach his pro bono goals. Thank you so much. We are going to wrap it up here. Like the stream, share it with your friends, subscribe, all of those things, and also wish Equality good luck on their exams. So thank you guys so much. And what is it? Music to My Soul says, I knew it was unlikely you would pull out my super chat in the interview, but hoped you might see it and decide to ask the sidebars questions. So thanks. We did. And 20th Century Fox says, another great interview, fun chemistry. Thanks, Ian. Thank you for being here. All right. Good. Eagle oil. Somebody sent me some stuff for my back, so I'm going to try it. We'll see. Hopefully it helps. Good night, all.